A very good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. It is 7 o'clock. We are actually on time, amazingly. Tuesday the 10th of February. We still have a government, but I'm not quite sure who's in charge of it. Nobody seems to know. Keir Starmer apparently went to see all of his MPs last night, and there was a lot of cheering, a lot of shouting, a lot of, kind of back slapping. And he said, "I've won every fight that I've ever been in." To which everyone said, "Are you serious?" And there he is fighting a punch bag, which looks about as bad of an idea as he's ever had. I'm delighted to say this morning we've got a bumper show for you. Kelvin Mackenzie's in the house. He's going to be talking to us in a little while. Richard Tice is here for the first time.
A very good morning. Fantastic
very good morning
to be with
you
in your brilliant studio.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome to our new home, the home of common sense. I mean, you can't quite believe what's going on, can you?
Well,
I mean,
it's
you
quite
must have
extraordinary.
thought you died and gone to heaven.
Well, it is just extraordinary. And yesterday morning, when the news came through that Anna Sarwar was going to do a press conference to call for the PM to resign, we thought he'll be lucky to see the day out.
Right.
And yes, he has seen the day out. But my goodness me, the cabinet took a long time to come out and support him. There was a very pregnant silence through a few hours yesterday. And there was a rumour that the Welsh leader, Ellen Ed Morgan, was also going to call for the PM's resignation. Yeah. And then apparently bottled it. Right. And who else bottled it? Did Wes Streeting bottle it?
Well, I mean, we've got a series of clips that we'll play throughout the course of the morning. I mean, certainly it seems as though Starmer also bottled it, because on Sunday night we were told he's going to come out and address the troops, i.e. the country, at some point, a lectern moment outside of Downing Street. And everybody thought, is he going to come out and actually resign? Is he going to come out and say, I'm standing firm? And then he just said, I'm not going to do anything. And he waited till, 6 o'clock before he went to see the MPs?
Yeah, and they've rallied round him. I guess they've looked over the edge and realised that actually the level of unpopularity of both the Prime Minister and the performance of this government is so bad. I think the polls show that he's the least popular or the most unpopular Prime Minister since records began 3 or 4 decades ago.
It is extraordinary.
It is extraordinary.
But also, actually, how quickly has it fallen apart? Because it was only, 48 hours ago that we were kind of talking about it, but now it's happening.
But credit to you. I mean, I remember you calling it out over a year ago, saying you didn't see how Starmer would last the whole term. Right. And
I didn't know why.
I didn't know why. And I remember you saying you didn't know why. What does it? But there's always something that sort of comes over the hill, and it was a combination of economic incompetence, series of self-imposed daft political decisions, starting with the winter fuel fiasco. Then you moved on to the first budget fiasco.
Which they reversed.
They reversed. And so they reversed most of that. But the damage has been done in terms of competence and popularity. Then you move on to the madness of the Chagos fiasco that's still going on. Yeah.
Which they've also seemingly reversed on for the moment.
Well,
anyway.
but then, so who knows? That changes day by day. Right. Then you've got all the national insurance increases. Yeah. And the list goes on and on. And then supposedly the welfare changes, and then they reversed on that. And it just utterly shambolic. And it's always something that you don't see that then tips it over the edge. And this
it's crisis at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yes, and isn't it interesting? What do you call him? The Lord of Darkness. Yeah. How a man who's been at the heart of Labour operations for decades, and I think when the messages come out, it will show that Mandelson has been at the heart of this operation, sort of subtly pulling all sorts of levers and manoeuvres and advising who should be in which ministerial role. Right. And I think that will be another real problem for the Prime Minister. And that's probably why Wes Streeting has started by getting some of his messages out over the last 24 hours. And I wonder whether we'll see other cabinet ministers or people want to put their own messages out to try and sort of
we've got a little
them.
clip of Wes Streeting talking to Beth Rigby, because she discovered some of his messages yesterday, all of which appear to end with a kiss to Peter Mandelson. Isn't that nice? That's what we like. Very friendly. Have a look at this.
I've got these messages here, and I've only just, to be honest, Wes, I'm literally just reading them shortly before you came in. But there is a lot of genuine intimacy here and friendship. Wes, to As to you, to Peter, great pitch, lovely photos in the time. Peter sends you a kiss. There's well done on the BBC. This is Peter Mandelson to you in June 25. I'm literally reading them as I go along. Well done on the BBC, very good kiss. Are you planning to visit the US this year? You hope so, exclamation mark, kiss. Are you embarrassed by that? I mean, that's quite an intimate friendship, isn't it?
No, look, an intimate friendship with Peter Mandelson. Look, I'm
there's
very,
dozens and
I'm
dozens
very happy to.
But there are dozens and dozens of messages here.
And people will be able to read them. What I felt I saw over the weekend was this implication that somehow I had something to hide, and that there were going to be very embarrassing or damaging messages coming out. Now, do I resile from friendship with Peter Mandelson? Yes, absolutely, given his behaviour and what he's done. Do I resile from those messages? No.
How embarrassed are you by these WhatsApps between you and him?
I'm embarrassed to have known Peter Mandelson. I hope that, more than anything else actually in those messages, I hope I haven't caused either embarrassment or discomfort for my cabinet colleagues.
Now, he looks very uncomfortable there, doesn't he, Wes Streeting? And
Yes,
according to the front page of the Telegraph, he says, basically, that he's been accused of trying to plot a Number 10 coup. He says that Number 10 has been briefing against him. I mean, they're all fighting like rats in a sack, aren't they?
Well, and of course, it was McSweeney that actually did brief against him a few months back.
Yeah.
And again, there was a huge row that ultimately I think McSweeney sort of lost out to Streeting. But it's remarkable, and I mean, hour by hour, I'm quite struck by the one of the headlines in this morning's Daily Mail that says that the cabinet has given him a stay of execution. All it would take is one puff of wind to blow him over now, right. Which is not exactly a great display of
let me ask
confidence.
you this: what happens in the next 24 hours, basically? Because I mean, nobody really knows the answer to that, do they?
No one knows the answer, including I think themselves.
Right.
And it's just whether or not there is a key figure, or whether something happens, and someone. It may be that there's a senior backbencher, and I think there's a very strong group of female Labour backbenchers who are raging furious about all of this, and the sort of the power of some of these. Or sort of the new Labour men, Mandelson,
the sort of boys' club, right?
The boys' club, and I think that's a very strong feeling. And who knows how that plays out? And then there's another issue which we shouldn't underestimate, which is how the markets are reacting to all of this. And it was very jittery yesterday.
I checked my pension this morning. It seems to have gone down quite considerably, which is always my only sort of interest in the financial markets.
So that's obviously a very significant factor within the markets overall. But the other significant factor is obviously
for 5 years.
The other significant factor is the bond markets and the price of the government being able to borrow, and that spiked on the cost of 30-year government debt. That spiked significantly to about 5.4%, the highest for 3 or 4 months.
Right.
Likewise, the cost of 10-year gilts also spiked, and that's a sign of a city anxious that the government is in chaos, and
also
they never like uncertainty.
Not just the bond market, but the debt crisis that we now face. I was talking to Liam Halligan last week from the Telegraph, and he said to me, even if we had to go cap in hand to the IMF like we did in the 1970s, they literally haven't got enough money to bail us out. We're in that much debt that they couldn't actually help us.
Correct. The total debt is a whisker under £3 trillion. Impossible to envisage what that is.
Yeah.
But it's about equivalent to the size of the annual size of the UK economy is really, or the turnover of the UK economy. And at those sort of levels, basically the bond markets are in charge as opposed to the government.
Yeah. And that is the problem. I mean, the other aspect of all of this, of course, is that, in the meantime, who's running the bleeding country? Because, if Starmer's sort of, hiding under the stairs in Downing Street, which it would appear to be what he's going to be doing for the next 48 hours, there's an awful lot of stuff that needs sorting out, isn't there?
Albeit you could take a slightly different view which is those of us that actually believe in a small state and a less interventionist state and sort of smart regulation. You could say, well, actually, them doing nothing and getting out of the way might actually be quite helpful.
Well, it might,
because everything they do seems to cause chaos, disruption, job losses, and ever more borrowing and ever lower growth. So,
well, I mean, page 2 of The Sun this morning says more small boat migrants have arrived under Sir Keir Starmer than any other Prime Minister since the crisis began. So, I mean, all of this, let's stop the boats, smash the gangs.
Smash the gangs. All they've done is encourage the gangs.
Smash their own gang is what they've smashed.
Well, I mean, absolutely. I think the gang is about to smash their leader.
Yes.
It's just a case of, I mean, I do think it's important to focus on there is a little bit of good news out there, and that is that, well, another major pub boss, Sir Tim Martin of Wetherspoons, has recognised that Reform is the party of the pub after the Fuller's boss last week, and that we're the only party that actually can bring down the cost of running pubs, bring down the cost of beer with the policy that we announced last week, carefully costed, and that left the Conservatives and everybody else spluttering, not understanding how to work a calculator. But I think it's important to focus on the good news. And
and you guys had a big rally yesterday up in Birmingham.
We had a huge rally in Birmingham, 2,000 people.
I mean, it's quite a contrast, and I mean, I'm not just being, sedulous here, because that's not my way, but basically, you've got the government in crisis, you've got Keir Starmer hiding from the public, hiding from the media, and meanwhile up in Birmingham, you guys are firing off these kind of guns with T-shirts in them and having sort of thousands of people
and there's
cheering.
huge optimism, and so we had a sort of a range of interviews with the Reform MPs. Then Nigel gave a very important speech, just reinforcing that not only are we getting ready, but we're accelerating plans to be ready, because essentially we need to be ready for the government to fall this year, where we'd previously said that we thought the government could fall from sort of the second half of 2027 onwards.
So you think it's sooner than that now?
Potentially it's sooner.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's probable, but we've got to be ready. And so yesterday was about setting out the fact that we will be ready. We've opened the list of applications for parliamentary candidates, and that so that's open, and that's a key statement.
Well, whatever you do, don't use the same vetting process they used in Downing Street for Peter Mandelson. Like, are you a bad guy? No. Okay, you're in. That's basically it.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, and given that this Prime Minister was, he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, known for his forensic questioning.
Oh, yes.
They
don't say that much anymore, do they?
No, they don't. He seems to have gone a bit quiet on that. But so look, we're going to have to. We're going to be getting ready.
And what does this mean for the by-election coming up in Gorton? Because obviously that's quite a key moment, isn't it?
So it's 2 weeks on Thursday.
Yeah.
And look, everybody's working incredibly hard. It will be very close, and fingers crossed we can just get across the line. But let's remember, this is about the 6th safest Labour seat in the country.
Yes.
It's been held by Labour for, give or take, 100 plus years. So the idea that they might lose it, and they might lose it to us, Reform, is obviously an indication of what on earth's going on. So, and again, in terms of moments for the Prime Minister, that could be another defining moment.
Yes, absolutely.
If we win that, then does that sort of tip them over the edge? Or do they say,
do you think he's going to still be in charge by then?
If he's still in charge, or whether they use that as a sort of defining moment for all of these Labour MPs listening to their furious constituents, saying, well, actually, he's got to go, but maybe as we do a sort of a leadership contest, he could be a caretaker PM until the May elections, and then he owns the disaster that they're facing.
And do you guys have a favourite sort of substitute in terms of who would you love to see as the Prime Minister? I mean, we all think Angela Rayner here because it'd be such a good laugh, but I mean, we don't really want to ruin the country that quickly.
Well, I think the PM's doing a pretty good job for Reform as it is. So there's an argument to say maybe you should just drift along.
Carry on.
We haven't got a favourite. Look, we're not afraid of anybody. Economically, they have no idea what they're doing. Not a clue. Sadly for the economy and for jobs, and particular for young people, there is an absolute desert of jobs out there, and they think they've done the right thing by by tightening the employment laws and by lifting the minimum wage for young people, all they've done is regrettably, businesses are looking at the risk picture and saying it doesn't pay to take someone on as an apprentice or as a younger worker in my team, in my business, in my pub, in my restaurant. And that's a disaster, absolute catastrophe. So then what happens? Those young people, they look at the landscape and say, well, I can't get a job. That's giving me mild anxiety, so I better go on the sick. You go on the sick, you're on welfare, you get a label, you get written off. And I mean, all of those numbers are utterly, utterly disastrous. They're disastrous for those young people, they're disastrous for their families, for their communities, and catastrophic for the economy.
On the economy generally, I mean, there's a piece in the papers today saying 1 in 8 pubs now is on the brink, basically, of shutting down. I was, it may not come as any great surprise to you, in a hostelry yesterday afternoon.
Really?
And there were more people working there than there were customers, And I was sitting there with a friend of mine, a guy that you know as well, Mark Littlewood, formerly of the IEA, having a couple of glasses of wine, and there was maybe 2 other tables occupied, so there was like 6 people, but there were about 10 people working both in the kitchen, behind the bar, and you just think, these poor people, how on earth can they make a living? They can't make a living.
It's desperate, and it's a difficult time of the year anyway, January and February in the sort of hospitality sector. But it is, all of this is dire, and when we see the borrowing figures out, I think a week on Friday, it's the next round of borrowing figures, I think those will be dire. The job figures. And
they haven't borrowed less than about 20 billion a month, have they, since they've been in?
Well, across the piece, I mean, the annualised figure is now running at 150 billion a year.
Wow.
It's very hard to know what that number is, I'll tell you. Per household, whether you own or rent your home, that's £5,500 per household per year. We borrowed that in the year to 2025, and we're going to borrow the same this financial year to March 26, and the same next year. Way more than the Office for Incompetent Forecasting, I'm so sorry, the Office for Budget Responsibility, than they forecasted their budget just a couple of months ago. I mean, these people, and of course, when you get that incompetent forecasting, it sort of leads the government to complacency about what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm hearing the news being read out, by the way, Pooch.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know whether that's deliberate. We've got this going on, by the way. We've got a poll today. What would you rather watch? Because the Winter Olympics are on. One of the worst things I've ever seen on the BBC. It says, what would you rather watch? Skeet shooting, curling, ice dancing, or Keir Starmer? It comes in at curling at the moment, is what everybody wants to watch.
Crikey, that is a sign of a nation that is, and an economy that is stagnant.
It really is.
Curling is, I know it's
possibly the worst sport ever.
Well, it's a great skill, but I'm not sure that it's a dynamic watch. I mean, I personally like to watch the bobskeleton because in my youth, I used to do a lot of that.
Did you?
Yes.
What, bobsleigh?
I used to be the 3rd fastest Brit, head first on a toboggan down what's called the
That's
Creston
amazing.
Run. So I did it over 500 times.
Well, Calvin McKenzie, who's going to be on just after you in a moment, used to make us all laugh years and years ago when I used to work for the Daily Express, which he used to describe as being the only newspaper that was on a luge heading fast downhill, trying to get to 0 in terms of its circulation. It is. You want to strap yourself in.
Yeah. So
can we just have a quick look, by the way, just while we're on, Keir Starmer. This is Keir Starmer last week at Prime Minister's Questions, asked if he still had full confidence in Morgan McSweeney.
I heard the Health Secretary say this morning was that he wants to cut waiting lists, but we all know that there's only one waiting list that he really wants to cut. But the Prime Minister is not going to do anything about the toxic culture. This is his responsibility. Just last night, his allies accused not just the Health Secretary, but the Home Secretary and even the Energy Secretary of launching leadership bids. These attacks came from Number 10, nowhere else, his toxic Number 10. The person responsible for the culture in Number 10 is his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney. Does the Prime Minister have full confidence in him?
Morgan McSweeney, my team and I are absolutely focused on delivering for the country. And let me be clear, of course, Mr Speaker, I've never authorised attacks on Cabinet members. I appointed them to their posts because they're the best people to carry out their jobs.
I mean, that really is the kiss of death, isn't it? Getting the vote of confidence from the Prime Minister. I mean, I'm hoping he never says that about me, otherwise I'm toast.
Well, I mean, this is it. He normally lasts about 24 hours.
Absolutely. The list is a long one.
Let me ask you about, this is a breaking story this morning about Bangor University.
Oh, yes.
Who have apparently banned reform. I think Layla Cunningham was going to go and have a speech to some of the students there. And there Reform UK not welcome at Bangor University, apparently, according to the debating society there.
Well, I think maybe taxpayers don't want to make it very welcome to give taxpayers money to fund any research at Bangor University. Maybe the government should say to them that unless you comply with the free speech laws and promote sort of free speech, then there'll be no taxpayer funding and maybe no student loans for all the students that go there. And see how long it takes for the phone to ring. I suspect it might ring very, very quickly indeed.
I know.
So I put that message out on socials this morning. I mean, who on earth do they think they are? The whole point of university is to promote debate, to promote discourse, to promote all sorts of incredible, extraordinary, good, bad, mad thinking in all walks of life. That's how you create things.
I know. It is extraordinary, isn't it, that they just don't want anyone to disagree with them. I mean, we had a story, I think, last week, Gen Z, whatever you want to call themselves, that most of them haven't got any friends who disagree with them.
I mean, what an outrage. What a bunch of snowflakes.
I know.
What a bunch
ridiculous.
of... I mean, it's just pathetic.
I've got one final question for you. It's a piece of the Times today, and I'm going to ask everybody we get on today this question. How long should you wait to text somebody after a first date? I know that you're not necessarily in the dating.
I'm not in the dating market. It's very important
these
to
days.
say that.
Even though
I am in the ring market. I'm getting a lot of flack for not buying a ring yet. But anyway,
a study suggests playing it cool can get you frozen out. So you should message them the next morning. What if you're still with them? I mean, you know.
Well, okay.
Do you mind if I send you a text message while you're lying next to me?
Yeah, it's clearly a very... the fact that it's on page 3 of the Times shows what an important topic this is. And we need to poll. Maybe you could put a poll out.
We could put a poll out.
With 3 or 4 different time frames.
Yes.
Is it half an hour?
Yeah.
Is it a couple of hours? Is it a day or is it never?
Depending on how it went.
We put a poll out anyway.
Thank you. Kelvin McKenzie, you'll be hearing from him very shortly. Richard Tice, great to
Lovely
see you.
to see you.
Thank you very much indeed. By this time tomorrow, we could have a new Prime Minister.
Anything could happen.
It's really
let's look forward to it.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? This is, of course, the home of common sense. Do get in touch. We've got loads and loads of you messaging already. Wes Street is disgusting, says Will, so boot him out as well. Jan says, how much of this university intolerance is due to open entrance and low standards in university? Reform may not be 100% ready yet, but compared to this Labour mob, I'd still prefer them, says Alan. So, you know.
Thank you, Alan.
Prepare yourself for government.
Prepare for government.
What was it? It was the Lib Dems, wasn't it? Go home and to your constituencies and prepare for government.
How did that work out?
Don't ever say that.
No.
Right. Anyway, listen, we've got loads going on today. We've got fantastic guests coming up. We've got your views, of course, as well. We are right here at the Mike Graham Show, the real home of common sense, except no substitutes. Have a look at this, right? But if you're worried that this lot who are currently in power are bad, wait until you see what Zach Polanski would do. Check this out.
Oh, sorry, Mike. No, it's not.
No? You haven't got it?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay. Pooch was going to play Zach Polanski, but he's not now. What should we do instead? What do you reckon?
It sort of slightly typifies Zach Polanski completely, actually.
Yeah.
In that, I mean, there was
He's kiboshed his own clip.
Well, yes, but there was a clip of him with the Lib Dems talking about all sorts of mad ideas about a decade ago.
Yeah. Well, that's the one we wanted to play.
And I mean, no one laughing.
No.
It's bizarre, actually. He looks older then, a decade ago, than he looks now, which is quite interesting.
It is,
Maybe he's hypnotised himself.
He could have done.
And made himself look different.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who think the Greens are going to win up in Gorton because they are kind of the party of protest now. Because, you know, in a way, you're...
Well, they're the party, regrettably, they're the party of sectarian politics.
Yeah.
And they will gain a significant vote because of the sectarian politics which is being played out in certain constituencies. And, of course, going back to Wes Streeting, that's why he's actually terrified of his own seat.
Yeah.
I mean, his majority was only just over 500, I think. And that's because of the pro-Gaza sectarian vote, which is now becoming a real thing in British politics.
Yeah, absolutely right. It is shocking, absolutely shocking. What are we doing?
Subscribe video.
Okay, subscribe to the channel, like it and enjoy. I'm Mike Graham, and this is the Mike Graham Show. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is free, it doesn't cost you any money whatsoever. But if some of you, of course, don't like the adverts, we can always give you a way around that. What you can do is you can sign up for YouTube Premium, which means you'll watch it ad-free, or you can join our Substack, which is the MikeGrahamShow.com. And for £1 a week, you basically get to watch the show completely ad-free every single morning from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And it does really, really help us if you like the YouTube channel and if you subscribe to it as well. And that doesn't cost you a penny. So you can do that and push our subscription numbers up. We're already hitting over 5 million views. We've got 126,000 subscribers already, but we want to make that bigger and bigger and bigger because that really does help the channel. The adverts that do appear, of course, on YouTube are put there by YouTube, not by us. There may come a time when we schedule ads so that we know exactly when they're coming in, but do forgive us if you're watching the show and the adverts do come on. But as I say, we really, really want your support. We really, really value it. And if you can join our Substack for £1 a month, that would be great. If you just want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that would also be great. Have we got any other messages, Pooch, for the good people? What they get on Substack is they'll get a little video from me every day about what I'm up to. Yesterday, I was on a tube train, and I'll tell you all about what happened then. Quite an interesting story. You'll also get little blogs. You might get an occasional recipe from me as well, maybe at least once a week. We're going to try and do that. And all sorts of other goodies that nobody else will see if they're not part of the Substack community. So do sign up to it, themikegrahamshow.com. Do sign up and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. It doesn't take any time at all. It doesn't cost you anything, but it pushes our numbers up and it really helps the channel. So thank you very much for your support so far. We're looking forward to going into our 5th week very soon. The first month of the Mike Graham Show has been a great success. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Pooch. Thanks to Charlotte, who puts it all together behind the scenes. And we'll see you every single morning right here, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m.
Okay, fine.
Here we are, we're back. Welcome back. It's 26 minutes past 7, and we've already got ourselves off to a flying start with Richard Tice there from before, who said literally anything can happen in the next 24 hours. We've now got yet another sage to talk to, Mr. Kelvin McKenzie. Kelvin, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah,
So
very enjoyable to be here.
I mean, for heaven's sake, yesterday, you didn't stay away from the sort of the phone for more than 5 minutes in case something else happened. It was an incredible sort of roller coaster ride. Starmer appears to have kind of managed to get through the day simply by hiding for most of it. Is he going to do the same today?
Well, the problem is that he can't, even prior to the fact that although he has, now this was a very good point, and I don't say this very often, a BBC presenter on the Today programme yesterday morning was cross-questioning somebody from Labour and said, Starmer has a 17-year-old daughter. Why would a man who had a 17-year-old daughter and also a mum, i.e. his wife, who is in the NHS, apart from many things, why on earth would they believe it would be a good idea to actually hire somebody who's had a friendship, whether it was a loose one or a major one, with a convicted paedophile who was effectively convicted for abusing a 14-year-old girl, let alone the Miss Guthrie episode when she was 17. So he took it into another area. And do you know what I disliked last night? So I was watching last night Newsnight, which turns out to be...
You were one of the 5 people watching it.
No, actually, it's got like 800,000 now. And the reason for that is that they have stopped trying to stop conservative views being aired. Really? Right. Fantastic. How original. Anyway, the point that emerged in all that was that she started interviewing the Environment Secretary, a woman, right, who was literally batting it all away. And I wondered about that lady. Was she, had she got children? And if she hadn't, had some of her colleagues. This is a change of direction. It's convicted paedophile, not a bank robber, not a fraudster, not somebody who bashed somebody over the head, right? It was quite clear what this man was doing. Right. And so the fact that Mandelson was actually trying to organise, because remember all this happened in 2009, 2010, he knew that Labour were going to be defeated.
Yeah.
So he was looking for a springboard
Yes.
for a financial world and an influence world once he was no longer a man of influence himself. No, I think Starmer's made a serious political error. After all, even one of his own Scottish ministers said, actually, this is a risk.
Yes.
Okay? So on saying that, everybody accepted it was a risk, right? And the risk didn't work. And
Yeah.
when a risk doesn't work, I'm afraid you have to pay the price. If you're a prime minister, look, you're in business, you're chief executive, you make a bet on something,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. What happens? Bang,
Right.
you're gone.
I saw an interesting piece in the Times today, and I probably won't be able to find it as we
Right.
speak. But
Okay,
it's
go
about
on.
a company called Palantir, and I don't know how much
Yeah.
you know about them.
Yeah,
but
go on.
Palantir is a massive multinational company, right?
Yeah.
Which has just signed a new deal with the Department of Defence in this country for billions and billions and billions of pounds.
And they had a party with the MOD.
And they had a party with the Ministry of Defence. Guess who has been involved with his company in making that deal happen? Peter Mandelson. Right, because he's been involved with that, that sort of group that he's got. Here it is, here. So Lord Mandelson held shares in Global Counsel, the lobbying firm hired by Palantir, when his embassy helped to organise a visit by the Prime Minister to its showroom in Washington last year. Show me the money is what they say, right? Follow the money, and you see where all these people are doing these things for.
Well, it's no surprise then, and this might be one for your viewers to try and work out. How is it that a run-of-the-mill, clapped-out politician for many, many decades has ended up living in a £12 million house right adjacent to Regent's Park? Regent's Park / some parts of Notting Hill are the premier housing hotspots of our country.
Yeah.
Where did he get 12 million quid
Interesting that you asked that question, because when I was watching the police going into the house on, I guess, was it Friday afternoon, it was mentioned in passing and then not revisited that there was a conversation that went on in 2010 between Epstein and Mandelson about possibly buying a pied-à-terre in London. And I'm wondering whether Epstein gave him the money to buy it or just bought it for him. And very possibly, somebody would find that out and possibly look into it, because nobody's mentioned it since. And I wonder, because you're right, Mandelson at the peak of his powers is not making more than about £500,000 a year, maybe £250,000 a year. How are you buying a £12 million house?
Yes, I totally agree. I totally get that. But there'll be loads of stuff, and that's why, whether it's today, tomorrow, or sometime after May the 6th, I'm afraid Starmer is not in control of whether he is going to be in number 10 or not. Something will emerge. And with the kind of feeling there is out there, those guys all voting for Starmer right now is because actually they're unsure about whether any of them would who in their right mind would hire Lammy?
I know.
It doesn't matter who the leader is. You've got to call him in and say, honestly, David, love you madly. We're just going to have to see how we get on without you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough. And I realise that there will be a mass uprising by the voters of this country, but you've had to go.
Yeah, the people who told them won't stand for it, right?
Yeah, that's right. They're going to be up there. But I tell you what they could do. If they really wanted to kill Tottenham stone dead, they make Lammy their manager.
Yeah.
Actually, funnily enough, the way things are going under Thomas Frank, he might actually do slightly better.
What about the whole problem with the government, though, and the cabinet? Because once all these messages come out, we saw Wes Streeting. We played a little clip earlier of him with his kisses to Mandelson and all the rest of it. Once all of these messages,
blokes do give kisses. I've got a friend of mine, a guy called Richard Glynn, who's the former CEO at Ladbrokes. He always signs off me with a kiss.
Yeah.
I wonder whether I'm out of...
You're outing him.
Well, he's possibly outing me. No, so I just...
I get that. But the difference being that you're not somebody who is in receipt of huge amounts of money from a convicted paedophile. So once again, we go back to that same horrible kind of nasty, ghastly story where you're dealing with a man who's more slippery than a snake and a snake oil salesman, and you as a politician are kind of sucking up to him, if you like. That's what Wes Streeting appears to be doing.
Well, they're both gay. Perhaps there is a genuine romance or affection between them.
Could be.
And
he looked very uncomfortable when Beth Rigby was reading those messages to him.
It's the first time. The reason he was uncomfortable is not because they were anodyne. He was uncomfortable because there was clearly going to be, yet to be discovered,
yes,
a WhatsApp message or text message of some kind of a different variety, and he was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Very possibly so. But that's the other thing. I mean, once all of these messages come out, which is, let's not forget, Starmer was trying to stop it last week. He didn't want this to happen.
Yep.
It is now happening. It's going to take a while. It's going to take weeks. It's going to be a very slow burn. But almost every single member of the cabinet is going to have something that they're going to be ashamed of, right? Something that they've said to Mandelson that they shouldn't have said.
Yes, and the very nature of politics is not to just let something go.
Right.
So instead of directly you see Mandelson's name saying, "I tell you what, this looks rather dodgy to me," he or she, I'm receiving that email, that text, is unsure about whether Mandelson still has sway or not.
Yes.
And therefore scared to text back saying, "Please don't contact me, you rotten sod," right? You have to say, "Oh, how are you?" and all the rest of it. So I feel I don't feel sorry for them, but something will emerge in all this.
It will,
and it is quite natural that it should emerge. And why Starmer wants to fight on, I don't know.
No,
because he is personally unpopular. I mean, I thought that Richard there was being quite careful about how he thought Gorton and Denton would go. And he is making a very good point, as we all do, is 30% of Gorton and Denton is Muslim.
Yeah.
I would say with the current Labour implosion, the Greens will skate home, actually, where Labour, actually some of Labour will go to Reform.
Yeah.
But actually I think the majority will go to Green as giving some of that towards Starmer.
And the ethnic vote will go to Green, won't it?
Ethnic vote, so Muslim vote goes to Green, other minorities go to Green, some of Labour goes to Green, and it's going to be... Now, what does he say then? Because I don't know how Burnham would have done. I suspect Burnham now believes he was actually saved.
Well, do you know what? I said that on the day. Burnham's probably, heaving a huge sigh of relief that he's been blocked, because he looks good, he looks virtuous, he looks like he wanted to stand and they've stopped me. But if he'd lost, he would have had no job.
No, he would definitely have lost.
Yeah, he would have had no job as a mayor and no job as an MP.
Yeah, right. So actually, strangely enough, Starmer made another huge error.
Yeah.
What he should have done is said, yes, this is a broad church.
Right.
All God's people are welcome in my church.
Yeah.
Had he done that, he would have killed Burnham stone dead.
Of course he would.
Dead.
But like all weak leaders, I mean, you, for decades, worked in the media. If you had somebody working for you in a newspaper who fancied their chances at taking your job, you'd give them something to do.
Can I just stop you there? Right. Can I just stop you there? Right, can I just stop you there? First of all, nobody would want that job. Old bloody Gorilla Biscuits on the phone every day. How are you? Actually, if he asks how are you, he has no interest in the response.
You're talking about Rupert Murdoch now, yeah.
So if he says, how are you, right? If you say, well, it's funny you should ask that because I've lost both my legs in a car crash and I've had the neurosurgeon on to me and they have discovered actually something, and my rear end, I've had a good, the whole lot has imploded. And you then spend 5 minutes explaining that your wife died and the children are all suffering from some terrible disease. There is no follow-up to that. He just says, yeah, well, let's just talk about today's paper, shall we? Yeah. So there is nobody on God's earth who has less interest in somebody else's.
Right.
Somebody else. On one occasion, I had pneumonia. And for various parts of the Northwest, obviously, that was actually a good thing. But anyway, and I came back and he said, I hear you had pneumonia.
Right.
And it basically indicated they'd be very grateful if I didn't have any more of that pneumonia. there was work to be done.
Yes. It is an extraordinary business for that. But what my point was going to be, basically, look, if you're running something and somebody kind of wants to challenge you and take on your kind of authority, you give them something to do that you know they can't do. You know, like you say, he should have said to Andy Burnham, yeah, absolutely, go for it, mate.
What a disaster. That would have blown Burnham.
Yeah.
So Burnham
would have been finished.
Yeah, totally destroyed.
Yeah.
He's now sitting there going, thank God for that.
And he's waiting now, is presumably, because if Starmer, inevitably when Starmer does go, he'll start sort of, getting on manoeuvres again.
So the next person who stands against him, against Starmer, will say the following. I will welcome Andy Burnham into the fold.
Yeah.
We will get the Labour NEC to reconvene, and we will have a different bloody view, won't we? And that's what will happen.
Yeah. And will that person be Angela Rayner, maybe?
I'm sure they will just bring everybody in if they thought they could garner extra votes from anywhere. I mean, one of the things that I do find about the coverage of the Starmer issue is that the major networks. The BBC, ITV, whatever. I used to say Sky, but GB News actually stuff the living daylights.
They do.
Out Sky,
do you know what? I watch GB News now on a regular basis. I never put Sky on. I just don't bother.
Well, I don't know why Sky bother, because the audience now is down at 70 or 75,000.
Right.
It's costing them 50
We do more than that.
50 or 60. Yeah, indeed you do. So it's costing you 50. And this is being done on the basis of Pooch making the coffees, running the desk, answering the door, right? And looking a lot older than his years, actually.
There's no David Rhodes here,
Right. So
can't afford him.
All roads lead to bankruptcy at Sky. But they're losing 60 million a year, have done literally for 30 or 40 years now. So why do they bother with it? And the only reason they're bothering is that Murdoch gave them a dowry when he left. Right, that dowry runs out in 2 years. Sky is going bust.
And that'll be when Comcast go, cheerio, thanks very much indeed.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
See you later.
No, actually, it's been a painful pleasure. Yeah. So they're doing their best to survive.
Yeah.
And they're hobbled by a crap news outlet. But however, going back to your point, I've never seen Wes Streeting look so uncomfortable. No. He obviously knows there is something going on up there, right, which is saying to him, where's my old son? The game is over.
Yeah.
And I think the game's over anyway, because if there ever was a Blair view of the world, right, that's come to an end. It's now going to be quite a left-wing party for the next 3 years. I feel sorry for our nation because we think that it's been bad for the last 18 months, 2 years. Honestly, the next 3 years are going to be bloody awful.
Right.
Taxes will go up. The feeling of the country. You can't meet anybody who wants to make a go of themselves.
Yeah.
Right? There are a whole load of people who have now decided, actually, I'd be better off, actually, if I don't do anything.
Yes.
Right? At least, the point Richard Tice was making was correct. There's a lot of people coming out of university this May, June, who will be looking for work, for decent work, saying, I've got a decent brain, I've worked reasonably hard.
Yeah.
What does my life future look like?
Yeah.
For the first time, there can be no assurance. In my own family, in my wider family, a very bright lady has decided to travel for a year.
Yeah.
She's tried to get on every single grad scheme. Actually, many of the grad schemes are shutting down, but the grad schemes are literally, because of either AI or stupidity or whatever, they are swamped. They're not bothering to respect. But what is the point of being ambitious and everything?
Right.
So here's the
And
rub.
the student loan system is so bad. I was listening to a girl from the Times the other day on Times Radio who said, I took £39,000 out as a loan for my undergraduate degree, another £11,000 for my postgraduate degree. I've been paying it off for 3 years, and now I owe £67,000.
Yeah.
More money than they borrowed.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's difficult to say, because if you don't... Right, if you are in America, for instance...
Yeah.
Remember, education in our country is surprisingly a exportable and desirous a kind of industry. It's good for us, right? We have some great universities.
Yeah.
If we don't support them with money, we end up with all kinds of universities like Metropolitan.
Yes.
Like Bangor.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if anybody knows anything about Bangor University, do call in or do send a message of some kind. It will turn out to be beyond shocking. Oh, there it is.
Do you know, the last time we saw that one, right, and I said somebody sent a message in Chinese.
Where did that come from?
Apparently it's Japanese. Somebody actually said it's actually Japanese.
Well, how do they know? Have you got Japanese people watching you?
We must have.
Is that a new bot?
There are people in Japan watching this as we speak.
That is rubbish. They're not.
That is not rubbish. We've
That
got
is not. You're
listeners
making
in
it
Japan.
up.
No, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Have I ever been known to tell you a lie in my life?
Well,
you have
been in media all your life.
I once took my two young boys, as they were then, they're now both grown up, and their mother to a party at your house.
Oh, do you?
It was a very nice summer party in that nice part of the world where you live. And his first words to my former partner and mother of my children was, "This man is the greatest liar I've ever met." And she thought it was great. Well, she agreed with you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, she turned out to be right, didn't she?
Absolutely shocking. I'll tell you what we've got to talk about, though.
Go on.
This story on the front page of The Sun.
Yeah.
If we weren't in the middle of a constitutional crisis, this is an extraordinary story as well. The King basically saying, we're going to help the police to prosecute my brother.
Well, yes.
Incredible.
I mean, and what's great news is that Andrew Lowney, who wrote the book that basically brought down Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he now known is, I wonder whether they should reduce his name. I wonder whether we should just call him Andrew Windsor.
Well, I was going to say take the Windsor off because he's now moved.
Okay.
He's not in Windsor anymore. He's in
Sandringham.
Well,
Andrew Mountbatten Sandringham.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Exactly. And then
just call him after wherever he is.
Then after a while, when he's thrown out, and then he goes to jail. When he comes out, be Andrew Mountbatten Hackney.
Yeah, or Andrew Mountbatten Wormwood Scrubs.
Yeah, exactly. Andrew Mountbatten Pentonville.
Yeah.
Yes, wherever he
is.
Wherever he is. What will be his explanation about being the trade envoy, an important, this round the world, shaking hands, and then at the same time directly gets this confidential information about what we think about this and what we think about that and how this all went, shipping it straight onto Epstein.
He barely read it, right? Within 4 minutes, he sent it on to Epstein.
Well, he won't have read it. He won't have read it. He'd be too busy trying to organise, some other
Or take
aspect.
his trousers off or something.
Yes, I should imagine he will. But
this is an incredible story, though. Yeah. The King coming out publicly, Buckingham Palace coming out publicly. Yeah. William yesterday already kind of threw his uncle under the bus.
Have to be a fairly large bus.
It would have to be a very large bus. I mean, Andrew's got to be finished as well, hasn't he? In terms of any kind of life that he can possibly have now.
Right. Well, the reason I don't know. Have you ever been to the Sandringham area of Norfolk?
Not really, no.
Right. It's basically the land that time forgot. It is. You expect to see dinosaurs start making.
It's a lot safer now that Prince Philip's not driving around running people over in the old Land Rover. Turn left.
No, but the reason he's on there is to stop people getting at Andrew.
Right.
Right. So you can't find this place. Right. So there is a castle, bags of security. So if people feel very angry towards what he's done, they can't actually find him anymore. Whereas at Windsor, they could easily have found him.
Right.
And I just wonder whether depending on as the scandal grows, whether in inverse proportion the houses get smaller.
Yes.
Right. So eventually he ends up living in a one bedroom.
Back in the doghouse. I mean, literally the doghouse, right?
He said, except he'd probably enjoy having the chain put around his neck.
He probably would.
And taken for a walk by a lady.
But I'll tell you what's come out that's even been worse than him is his ex-wife, Fergie. The idea that she was sort of, messaging Epstein on and off, suggesting women that he might like to basically consult with, possibly marry, possibly, hire as a slave. I mean, just incredible stuff.
Well, so she is, 66 now?
Ghastly woman.
She appears to be skint.
Yeah.
More worrying, I would have thought, for the family, on top of being skint and having to live in Sandringham, is the fact that they've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
Now, the question for those kids is they've both got they're supposed to be both working royals, right?
Right.
That is complete tosh.
Right.
One of them works for some, I don't know, basically they are front of house
They always
people.
work for sort of auction houses, don't they, these people?
Yeah.
Like Sotheby's or somewhere.
Look, the question for them is how do they now view their parents?
Yeah.
Because they are sitting there. Their parents haven't sat down and said to them, look, I've got something to tell you. Would you like to just read these emails here? I don't emerge too well out of them. I want you to know that's only half the story. There's plenty more coming where that came from. So how do they, so they read news sites, they listen to shows like this, they see the front page of The Sun. What do daughters make of
And
this?
presumably he rings them up from time to time, or wants to see them, or says, "When are you coming? Are you coming over for Sunday lunch?"
And that's why he's moved to Sandringham. He doesn't want them to. Have you ever tried to get there? If you drive from central London to Sandringham, it would take you 3.5 hours.
I once tried to get to a Centre Parks somewhere up there, right? And I had to get about 4 trains from King's Cross, and in the end, I ended up getting a taxi sort of for the final bit of the way. And then they wouldn't let me in because they said, you can't, because I got out of the taxi and started walking. They said, you can't walk in. I said, why not? They said, you've got to be in a car. I said, what do you mean you've got to be in a car? I said, my family were all there already. I hate Centre Parks. This is one of the worst holidays of all time. Bloody awful. But yeah, it's something in the middle of sort of nowhere.
Is it near Alton Tower or is it?
No, Alton Towers I think is more like Stoke way. This is definitely sort of East Anglia.
Okay.
But
Are you sure?
Yeah, I had to
Actually,
go. All I know is
if you've got any viewers who actually know geography, could they actually text in?
Well, I had to go to Cambridge, is all I know.
Yeah.
And then it was one of those where you got to the next bit of the journey and you had to get another train. And I got to where the train was and it was sitting there and the guy said, sorry, you can't come on the platform. I said, why not? He said, well, the train's leaving in a minute. I said, well, that's fine. I'll just walk on then, can I? No. It's health and safety. You've got to stand behind the barrier and watch the bloody train leave and wait for another hour for the next train.
Well, so you were stranded for an hour in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere.
With your attention deficit disorder, I would have thought that would have led to quite a lot of irritability.
No, it was a lot of irritability. Yeah, absolutely right. Extraordinary times. Let's talk about this, the big story of the day, which we did quiz old Richard Tice on. Yeah. Playing it cool in the dating pool is a bad idea. Journal of you should edit this. The Journal of Social and Personal Relationships.
Yes, well, I could certainly give them much experience. I've got a PhD in that.
Asked more than 500 people to imagine a pleasant first encounter at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And after that, their companion sent a message either immediately after parting, or the next morning, or 2 days later. Participants were asked to say when is the right time to send a message. So if you've taken somebody out for dinner and you've parted company, so you haven't spent the night together, when do you send them a message?
Well, I don't think you should send them the message that night.
Really?
Because it's difficult to be exact about these things. I mean, hopefully you'll be lying in bed with them, but when you look like me, that seems highly unlikely.
Leave the lights off.
Yeah. Turn your own light off. Yeah, that would be funny, wouldn't it? Where the woman says, "Look, do you mind? I say, do you mind turning the light on?" And she said, "Well, having had a look at you, I'd rather turn it off." But on that question, I think the following day.
Right.
I think if you left it 2 days, that would be an indication. Honestly,
that's too long, isn't it?
Yeah. 2 days sounds as though. Why don't they send you a text?
Yeah.
Why don't they send you a text saying, I really enjoyed, I hope we can do this again and all the rest of it? Why does it have to be down to the bloke? You don't mind picking up the bill, but actually having to grovel.
But this is the problem with women, though. You never know, do you? Because whatever you do, you're probably going to get it wrong.
That is correct.
You know, once you've realised that, life becomes a lot easier, in my view.
Right. Well, the thing is that the woman has, they're immeasurably brighter, to start with. And they are not only cleverer, they're more focused, and they are sitting there knowing what blokes.
Just going to have to get somebody else.
Knowing what blokes are like.
Yes.
Right. That's the other thing that they know. Literally from the age of whatever, they have known what the game is.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
And. No, I think if you left it 48 hours, that is basically an indication that you, under no circumstances, do you want to see them again.
Yeah. I mean, the mother of my children, with whom I have quite a complicated relationship, treats me like an idiot.
Oh, well,
You know.
well, she knows you.
She does know me. She's known me for many decades, and she's kind of, I'm kind of. She treats the dog better than me.
Yes,
in a way.
but the dog has been more loyal than you have.
It's true. Also, the dog can learn things which I can't learn. I'll come home. She'll do things like, have you noticed something different? No. Well, there's a new clock. Oh, is it? Oh, right. Okay. I just don't see things. You know.
I know that my wife says my wife has been to the hairdressers.
Yes.
And
You've
she
got to notice that.
comes in and she says, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "What do I think about what?" And she says that well, my hair. And of course, that's not a big issue for me. So
No.
therefore, I try to be loyal, but sometimes it's.
And also, by the time you've noticed it, it's too late then. Because you go, oh, yeah, you've had your hair done, but it's too late.
Yeah,
You've already missed- you've already missed
you
it.
failed the original test.
Yeah.
No, I think there's. I think the easiest answer on, but even worse than that would be is if you actually went home with them.
Yes.
On the first night, and then you didn't bother to text the following day. I think that would be.
That would be bad. According to this, those were told that they had received a message the next morning, reported the highest intention of pursuing a relationship.
Yeah.
Texting immediately was somewhat less effective.
Yeah.
Waiting 2 days was worst of all.
Yeah. So I think the problem is if you text that night, it begins to make you look like you're a bit, a bit of a barn pot and
Prince Andrew vibes.
Yes. What is incredible about the Andrew thing, and this is why I'm looking forward to speaking to Lowney.
Yeah.
I think 8:30.
He's coming on later. Yeah.
Yeah. Is why was none of this ever reported at the time? So they must have a very, very good closed unit group within the royal family where nobody calls up a favoured journo and says, "You'll never guess what's happened here."
Well, do you remember when we were told that this Russian girl, supposedly woman, was sent over to see him for some kind of sexual encounter? He takes her into Buckingham Palace. How is that not somehow leaked to the press? That he smuggled in some woman?
Yes. Well, do you smuggle? I mean, I hate to use the expression, but is there some kind of back way into the palace?
Better ask Peter Mandelson.
Now you see, we're starting to go downhill here. It hasn't.
It's nearly time for the news. Don't worry.
I've got a couple of comments, Mike.
Hey?
I've got a couple of comments.
Oh, okay. All right. Are you going to stick him up there? Chiba, there you go. Koran-chan from Chiba in Japan is listening.
Right, well, just tell him to concentrate.
Judas from Texas in the US of A.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, right, good.
South Africa. I mean, it's a global show, this, by the way.
Yes, I know. Well, there's plenty watching it around the
Andy's
world.
in
None
Nairobi.
here.
Andy's in Nairobi.
I like this one.
I'm watching from the Islamic State of Wales.
Actually, I tell you what, that would have been great. That would have been great if that Welsh lady. I don't know whether you've heard that. Ever heard the Welsh leader of what used to be called the Labour Party, right? She is the most, honestly, they honestly believe that they're running things in Wales. Apart from running the thing into the ground, right? I think what we should have done is give the Hong Kongers, there's 300,000 Hong Kongers, and there's more to come.
Yeah.
They'll be good for our country. We should have given them Wales.
Yeah.
Because we've tried giving it to the locals.
Yeah.
That has turned out to be a disaster.
Right.
We tried giving
The
it
rugby
to...
team's no use either. I saw them on Saturday.
Yeah, we've now got a rugby team that seem to think that they're doing curling or something. They're playing a different sport to the side that's playing them.
Right.
Whereas the Hong Kong Chinese are driven by creating wealth. So this is something for our country.
Yeah.
Why don't people say, well, what do you do for a living? He said, I make money.
Right.
I make money, right? I make money for myself, I make money for the family, and I also make money, actually, for other people I have never met.
You also make money for the country because you pay tax on the money that you make, right?
That's going on camera if he wants to.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay.
Yeah,
I want you to
right.
say that,
So we need people to say, I am making money and I'm proud I make money. Actually, the fact is, the spin-off of that is I live in a big house or I drive a big car or my kids do something which other people don't do. Actually, they're also funding an entire infrastructure of our country. And I saw some numbers the other day that showed now, under our beloved Labour, and this is going to get them slung out anyway, even if there was none of this implosion going on right now, is that we now pay for 124,000 asylum seekers, right, benefits of about 12 to 50, on average, 12 to 15,000 a year, plus 50-odd thousand who are deemed it's too dangerous to send them back because they all claim that they're now Christians when they were Islamists, and therefore they're going to be put up against the wall and shot, right? So it's a couple of 100,000 of that. Why don't we actually say the reason that we can fund any of this is because ordinary people and some very wealthy people are creating wealth for themselves and their families. And actually, how people live their lives with big houses, small houses, large cars, small cars, sending their kids to private schools, sending them to state schools, all this is funded to the fact that there is work. In our country right now, under Labour, work now appears to be down the ladder, and benefits sitting at home, claiming you've got ADHD, claiming you've got anxiety. We've all got bloody anxiety. Yeah. It's an anxiety which gets us out of bed to earn some money to make life worthwhile for ourselves, our families, and for people, total and complete strangers. We are funding them. That has to change. We must put wealth creation at the top. Everything else will work downwards. Starmer says that he loves our country. Do you know what he loves? He loves taxes. He loves shutting pubs. He loves migrants. He appears to love other socialists. What he hates is people who create wealth. How incredible. How incredible.
I know. Brilliant. Well said. Very well said, that man. And finally, if you wanted to take over Wales, you can begin by buying a rugged retreat of almost 18 acres in the Diwryd estuary. Yeah. 350,000 quid for Ynys Giftan.
Where is that?
It's an island off the coast of Wales.
Right. Well, I tell you what, why don't we put... I tell you what, that would fit. That would fit everybody in Wales that's likely to vote Labour on May the 6th. There won't be many left.
No, exactly right. Kelvin McKenzie, what a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming in. My wife and I have been married 50 years. We go out twice a week for a romantic meal. She goes on Tuesday, I go on Friday. Brilliant. Listen, I don't know what's going on with this show, but it's bloody entertaining is all I know. Kelvin, good to see you. Thank you, sir. Okay. We'll see you soon. Coming up, Russell Quirk is here. I mean, the hits just keep on coming. He's going to tell us what's in the papers, stuff we haven't done yet. By the way, the Winter Olympics is my plank of the day today. I'm going to tell you why I hate it, why I think the BBC have wasted a load of money by sending about 60,000 people to cover it. We'll come back to the playing it cool, the dating pool as well. This, of course, is the home of common sense. Let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer is fighting for his political survival amid a major crisis triggered by the appointment of Lord Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador. Revelations about Mandelson's past links to Jeffrey Epstein have led to the resignations of Starmer's Chief of Staff and Communications Director. Scottish Labour leader Enes Sarwar publicly urged Starmer to quit, calling Number 10's performance not good enough, but cabinet ministers rallied behind the PM. Starmer told Labour MPs he's not prepared to walk away from his mandate and vowed to fight on against challenges from Reform UK and Nigel Farage. The King expressed profound concern and offered royal support for police assessments into fresh Epstein-related claims involving Prince Andrew, including allegations of sharing confidential UK trade documents. Persistent heavy rain has brought severe flooding, with over 100 flood warnings across the UK, following what forecasters call an exceptionally wet start to 2026, and more downpours expected for up to 10 days. Other headlines include a nursery worker found guilty of raping young children, described as every parent's nightmare. Government plans to wipe £5 billion in council special educational needs, debts to avert bankruptcies, and the British Museum securing funds to keep a rare Henry VIII linked pendant. Political turmoil in Westminster dominates, with economic ripples like falling stocks adding pressure.
Oh, there's the news with Edward Hughes. Thank you very much indeed. Russell Quirk is here. Russell, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Welcome.
You and Kelvin McKenzie, I'm going to do that.
I mean, crikey. It's a full moon or something. Anyway, so we're sort of an hour late doing the paper review, but I think that's okay. It's a movement.
The trouble is, obviously, the news cycle is anything happening.
Yeah.
Is Starmer still in the job?
You may well ask. I think. Oh, there you go.
Do I need a mic?
You didn't. I think you do need one. You didn't have one before. Well, poor old Pooch is doing about
Oh, he's
58
doing everything,
things.
are
I
they?
mean, talking about. I mean, he says quite openly. What do you think I am? Some kind of octopus?
Well, I should probably
he's
take
got to
some
open the door. He's got to let people in. He's got to fire up the microphone.
I should probably take some responsibility. It's not my
Fire
first
up the-
rodeo.
fire up the
I should
quattro.
have probably realised I didn't have a microphone.
Well, but again, we don't do that, see, because I'll be sitting here and I'll go, I can't hear anything. You're like, you haven't got your earpiece in. Oh, right, okay.
Oh, right, yeah.
Anyway, but we're having a great time. We've had wonderful, wonderful reaction this week. Incredible numbers yesterday, similar today. Loads and loads of people. You say, is Starmer still in the job? The answer to that is because I haven't seen that he's quit yet. I presume he still is, but I mean, anything could happen, right?
Well, yeah, and do you remember the days of Truss, or the last days of Truss, where I think one particularly enterprising newspaper editor decided to get on his front page one of these?
Yeah, yes.
A lettuce to symbolise
the fact... Is that a little
fact...
gem lettuce?
It is a gem. What would last
You've already
longest?
eaten half of it.
Well, no, it's falling to bits, which I think is very, very poignant. Literally on the way here, it's literally falling to pieces.
Did you get this yesterday? So you sort of timed it for...
Well, this is a member of each of his staff kind of falling by the wayside one by one.
Yeah.
That's Morgan McSweeney.
Yeah.
Apparently the Cabinet Secretary is going today, so that's another leaf and so on.
And wasn't there another guy, another kind of... press guy that went yesterday.
Tim Allen.
The head of communications.
Yeah. So two
I
down.
thought he was
loads
comedian,
more to go.
Tim Allen.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought, look, the left really, really enjoyed kind of digging Liz Truss out, didn't they, in terms of comparing her and her potential tenure to that of the life of a lettuce. So I thought we'd resurrect that, if you don't mind. But also, because I don't think he's going to last as long as a lettuce, I've mocked this up for you, which is Starmer milk. Because I think actually
skimmed,
this
like
might last longer before it goes off than Keir Starmer's tenure as Prime Minister.
I think you're right.
Despite the rallying call yesterday from all of these cabinet ministers, who effectively just copied and pasted the same statement into Twitter.
Well, do you know, I can't find it, but I took a picture because I was watching GB News yesterday afternoon. They did a really good little table of all the timings,
It was loads
which
of
were
them.
literally
Within 4 minutes of each other.
But there was something like 25 of them, all within 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, but those are the same thing, which is he's only just been elected. Give him a chance. Well, I think we've done that, and we've seen how that's panned out.
Yes.
And he's working to the manifesto and the mandate that he was elected on. Well, I've got news for you. He's not, because they haven't enacted anything that they put in the manifesto. In fact, they've pulled rabbits out the hat left, right, and centre in terms of doing stuff that wasn't in the manifesto.
Exactly right.
So that kind of argument doesn't hold up at all. So yeah, despite their rallying call, obviously we had Anas Sanwar yesterday who broke cover. Bit of kudos to him, don't you think?
I think so.
Bit of
And
kudos.
he's been accused of making a mistake, right? Because apparently up in Scotland, they're saying that, he went too early, he said the wrong thing. I think we've got the clip. I don't know if we got the clip. Can we
He
watch
might just
that?
have a bit of integrity, mightn't he?
Well,
That's a rare thing.
Yeah,
But he might
absolutely.
just have a bit of integrity.
Have a look.
Easy, and it's not without pain, as I have a genuine friendship with Keir Starmer. But my first priority and my first loyalty is to my country, Scotland. And I am not willing to sacrifice Scotland's NHS, our schools, our communities, our towns, cities, villages and islands to a third decade of an SNP government. That's why the distraction needs to end and the leadership in Downing Street has to change.
And he's basically saying there he's not willing to put up with Starmer and his hopelessness. But on the front page of The National, which is not a very well-read newspaper, but it's up in Scotland, they say gamble gone wrong. They got a picture of Anas Sanwar and it says humiliation for Sanwar as his call for Starmer to step down backfires. I'm not sure it's backfired. It just hasn't happened yet.
No, it's just temporary respite. And this follows exactly the same pattern as when Rishi Sunak went, when Liz Truss went. Of course, they don't go immediately. These prime ministers, they're so drunk, I'm afraid, particularly Starmer, on power and position that they hang on by their fingernails and they're kicking and screaming. And we're going to see Starmer do exactly that.
Well, I mean, the docudrama yesterday, I suppose, if you want to call it that, or the psychodrama maybe, of Starmer initially saying he was going to make a statement in the morning, then not making a statement in the morning, then sort of hanging out with saying nothing for the entire day almost, then emerging, I think it was about 6 o'clock, into a ministerial car to go off to his to the Parliament, where apparently they were all banging the desk and cheering. And you just kind of go, do you really think anybody believes that.
But all of the lobby correspondence
Yeah.
also was saying it was so obviously contrived.
Yeah, of course.
It was so obviously fake. So it's temporary respite, but I think it follows a pattern ultimately. But yeah, no one is falling for it. It's absolutely obvious that people, even Angela Rayner, of course, who came out with a statement on X last night saying that we need to get behind this man. Well, she has to say that. Where Streeting has had to say that.
Yes.
They can't show disloyalty. But the other thing, of course, that we do need to bring up is the fact that it seems, the allegation is that Starmer played the general election card yesterday. He effectively said to Cabinet, if you don't support me publicly, almost like a gun to their head, if you don't get your phones out now and tweet your support, bearing in mind 4 weeks ago we actually wanted to cancel Twitter, the irony. If you don't do that, I'm going to call a general election, you'll all be out of a job. So of course they all fall in line temporarily. But of course, if he does lose his job, Rayner becomes Prime Minister or whoever, there won't be a general election, even though they've called for every reform defector to have for there to be an election as a consequence of all of those defections. We know there won't be, unfortunately.
I mean, I always take the view that there might have to be an election if the economy takes a turn for the worse, which it might well do, because there are those who have told me that if Angela Rayner, for example, was to take over, or Miliband, I mean, Miliband's been quite quiet, which worries me.
Which is very sinister.
Because it means that, because he is incredibly popular, unbelievably, inside the Labour Party, right? And inside the Parliamentary Party in particular. So say, for example, it's him or it's Rayner, the markets might not respond well to that.
Well, the markets haven't responded well this week.
No.
So gilt yields went up. So in other words, the cost of borrowing, which by the way is way past Liz Truss's tenure.
Oh,
the mainstream media never report on
Well,
that.
I've been repeating this ever since he said it to me. Liam Halligan last week came on the show and said basically if we had to go cap in hand to the IMF like we did in the 70s, they haven't got enough money to bail us out.
Yeah.
Because we're in that much debt.
Yeah, no, we saw the pound weakening. And this is not just around instability insofar as, okay, look, losing a Prime Minister, and this will be about, the 6th in 5 or 6 years. It's not just that in terms of uncertainty, it's the fact that they know what's coming, which is probably an even further lurch to the left by Labour if we do end up with someone like Angela Rayner or Ed Miliband as Prime Minister. So, the markets are very, very jittery. So, look, we could end up in a kind of economic abyss. We're in a bad place as it is. Labour MPs over the last few days saying, hey, look at all the economic growth. I mean, it's 1%.
Yes.
1%. Back in the day,
and it's already been downgraded, by the way. The Bank of England downgraded
normal growth
it
was
last
3
week.
or 4%.
Yeah.
The likes of Argentina and the US and so on, fun enough, right-leaning economies are all seeing growth of between 2 and 4% this year, or will do.
Right.
And the Labour Party think that 1%, which is pretty precarious, is okay. It really isn't.
It really isn't. No.
We could go to the IMF like we did in 1976, cap in hand. Maybe that would trigger an election. But the trouble is, as we know from yesterday, these Labour sycophants who all they care about is their own power and authority and their ministerial cars, they're probably still not going to vote against their own government.
No, they're probably not, because they all love their jobs too much. Not so much the job itself, but the money and the expenses.
The power and the access.
And the access and all of that, because without any of that, they're all nobodies. The Labour government.
I think they're nobodies anyway. But
but that's what I mean. You run down the list of cabinet ministers, and there's not one of those people. I mean, Kelvin said it earlier. You wouldn't employ David Lammy. You wouldn't employ any of them.
Well, most of them have never been employed.
No.
Well, most of them never actually had a job.
I know. I mean, let's have a look at some of the headlines, right? And this is where I find it interesting. And the Times, for example, which has been slavishly pro-Starmer ever since he's been in, right? PM comes out fighting as cabinet falls in line. I mean, who writes that sort of rubbish?
I know.
I mean, when he said yesterday, I've won every fight I've ever been involved in, and we just play that, that thing of him punching the punch bag, where he looks like, for all the world, he's never ever punched anything in his life, and he's never won a fight in his life. He's the sort of bloke that if you were at school with him, you'd be kicking him around in the playground, wouldn't you?
Bullied relentlessly.
He would.
But
Cabinet bounced into saving Keir, is what it says on the front page of the Mail. Starmer defies calls to stand down, FT. They're all kind of spinning it as if he is in charge of his own kind of destiny, which he's not, right? Streeting accused of number 10 coup in the Telegraph. Streeting says number 10's been briefing against him in the Mail. It's just, I find it really weird the way that the media is kind of spinning this.
But compare this to the demise of Truss in 2022, 2023. Compare this to the demise of Rishi Sunak and so on. You had the mainstream media, the likes of Laura Kuenssberg, and Beth Rigby and Peston and so on, relentlessly gunning for those individuals. I mean, they didn't at any point when it looked like one of those previous prime ministers might be off the hook say, "Oh, I think everything's okay now." There's a brief interlude insofar as they might now be saved. But as soon as there's this contrived gun to the head around the cabinet table yesterday with Labour, Beth Rigby et al. they all fall in line and say,
Yeah.
OK, well, let's help Keir Starmer stay in place.
Yeah.
Well, of course they will, because they're biased. The
Right.
mainstream media, in the main, are left-leaning sycophants.
Yeah.
Not only do they believe in this ridiculous Starmer ideology, whatever that actually is, but of course they all want access.
Yes.
They're not as brave as you that says, well, you know, sod the Prime Minister.
don't care.
Sod Labour front
Yeah.
bench. If they never come on the show, that's up to them.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let them off the hook just in case they might then relent and decide to come on.
No. Well, in fact, maybe what we should do, just to prove that we don't care, should we play the beginning of the show yesterday, Pooch? Because this is quite funny. I don't know if you were able to watch yesterday morning.
I didn't see it.
And I didn't... Will you be able to hear me as well?
Yeah.
So we didn't plan it like this. But Emma Wolf was here doing papers, and we had the countdown clock, which everybody hates, by the way, and they're always telling us to shut. And we just started laughing because it was so funny.
Very raw and real. It's all very raw and
Good
real.
morning, everyone. It's 7 o'clock, Monday the 9th of February. I'm sorry. I've been saying this is going to happen, right, for years, actually months, weeks. I don't know what you want to. Emma Wolf is here. Very good morning to you, Emma. I didn't really mean to burst out laughing there as we started to go. Oh, look, my collar's not right. Keir Starmer's finished. It's the fact that you can just say Keir Starmer's finished and then just roll about on the floor laughing because he's been so useless.
He's a parody Prime Minister, isn't he?
He really
I mean,
is.
if you were writing the script for some, you know, quite unbelievable and extreme political comedy, a kind of remake of Yes Minister or Yes Prime
Yeah.
Minister, you'd cast Keir
You
Starmer
would.
as the main lead.
Because he is so wooden. Yeah. I've won every fight I've ever been involved in. No, you haven't. Stop rubbish. Stop talking rubbish.
Well, he's not going to win this one, is he?
He really isn't, no. So what's your best bet then? I mean, obviously we've got the letters, we've got the milk. He can't last the end of the week, can he?
Look, I think that the pressure will continue to be applied. I suspect that this is Wes Streeting, Ed Miliband, Angela Rayner getting their ducks in a row. They're not quite ready. Although I did see, and this is only a rumour, this might not be true, but I did see it. It was on X, but unsubstantiated. A whole bunch of domain names registered yesterday, including the likes of Yvette for leader.
Oh, really?
Ed for leader.
Oh,
yeah.
blimey.
I mean, look, it might be someone making that up, but I did just see that on the way.
Yeah.
I think if he lasts, and I think it's very questionable if he lasts till the end of the week, frankly. What was the old adage in Fleet Street in your day? If you appear on the front page of the Sundays 2 weekends running, you're done.
Yes.
Well, that's definitely going to happen.
And I think there's going to be something that comes out this. I mean, we expected it last Sunday, and something did come out. We expect it again this
More will
Sunday.
come. So there'll be more resignations. As I said,
Yeah.
we think the Cabinet Secretary is going to go today.
Right.
Whether he goes of his own free will or he's pushed as another scapegoat,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, all of these WhatsApp messages as well, which we've seen already, Wes Streeting sort of trying to justify getting out
there's
ahead of.
there's no growth plan. You know,
Well,
the whole thing about Labour and getting
Right.
elected was about growth.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've now
But
got a
that's-
front bencher saying there's actually no plan.
Yeah, but that's not going to be the worst of it. What's going to be the worst of it is all the sniping, all the horrible, sort of backhanded compliments, all of the sort of slagging off of each other.
Yeah.
That's bound to come out in the next sort of
So
couple of weeks.
I think that the catalyst, the 26th of this month, I know that in this particular political situation is a long, long way off. The Gorton and Denton by-election, which obviously Matt Goodwin is fighting against Labour,
Yeah.
he will push Labour, I suspect, into fourth place. If Starmer does last, I suspect that will be it. There is also, I guess, the view that Keir Starmer will last on the basis that the party want him to last, potentially to May the 8th. Because if the May the 7th local elections are devastating for Labour, which we think they will be,
yeah.
he then can take the blame, and it means it's a proper reset, another reset, for the next leader. So
Yes.
there is some logic, I suppose, from a Labour Party perspective to keep Starmer in post, to take the blame, kitchen sink and all, for the devastation of the May the 7th election.
Yes, I could see that would be the case. But they could also get rid of him before that and still blame him and say, the fact is that,
and
the
actually
reason...
not then lose 2,000 councillors
Yeah.
in 4, 5, 6 weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, no, they might still lose the ball, but they could still blame him for causing people's lack of faith in the Labour Party.
And I think now the problem for the Parliamentary Labour Party and actually for the grassroots members and councillors, council leaders and so on is if you continue to prop up this absolute abject humiliation of a failure of a Prime Minister, what does it say about you as an individual? Already I think those cabinet ministers yesterday are tainted on the basis of this pure fake sycophancy, this ridiculous support.
Because none of them have got the balls to actually go for it.
But no one's buying it.
No.
No one believes
I mean, Wes
this
Streeting
nonsense.
says that they've been briefing against him in Downing Street. We've got the clip. We played it a bit early, but we could play it again. This is him talking to Beth Rigby. And I've never seen Wes Streeting ever looking quite so kind of, uncomfortable as he looks in this clip. Have a look.
I've got these messages here, and I've only just, to be honest, Wes, I'm literally just reading them shortly before you came in. But there is a lot of genuine intimacy here and friendship. You know, Wes to you, to Peter, great pitch, lovely photos in the time. Peter sends you a kiss. There's well done on the BBC. This is Peter Mandelson to you in June 25. I'm literally reading them as I go along. Well done on the BBC. Very good kiss. Are you planning to visit the US this year? You hope so! Exclamation mark. Kiss. Are you embarrassed by that? I mean, that's quite an intimate friendship, isn't it?
No, look, an intimate friendship with Peter Mandelson. Look, I'm
Wes, there's dozens and dozens.
I'm very happy to.
But there are dozens and dozens of messages here.
And people will be able to read them. What I felt I saw over the weekend was this implication that somehow I had something to hide and that there were going to be very embarrassing or damaging messages coming out. Now, do I resile from friendship with Peter Mandelson? Yes, absolutely, given his behaviour and what he's done. Do I resile from those messages? No.
How embarrassed are you by these WhatsApps between you and him?
I'm embarrassed to have known Peter Mandelson. I hope that, more than anything else actually in those messages, I hope I haven't caused either embarrassment or discomfort for my cabinet colleagues.
Yeah, I hope I haven't caused any discomfort for my cabinet colleagues. Well, I think it might be a bit late for that.
What about the rest of the country?
I know.
Of course, that's quite a lot of discomfort over the last 18 months.
We're all
Thank you very much.
scratching ourselves going, crikey, absolutely right. Let's have a look at some of the other stories. I mentioned this to Kelvin. In any other sort of walk of life or in any other day, the front page of The Sun today, and the King saying, we'll help cops on Andy, would be massive, wouldn't it?
Well, it would. I mean,
the King basically shopping his own brother.
I don't know what words were actually chosen by King Charles, but yeah, it looks like he's not heard the kind of snitches get stitches phrasing, because he seems quite happy here to give everything that he has, everything he knows about his brother.
Yeah.
I guess, look, in fairness, he's got to try and somehow distance the royal family and try and have his own reset,
right,
insofar as how people feel about the royal family, because of not just Andrew tainting them, but of course Harry and Meghan too. So I guess, look, again,
it's quite a weird message though, isn't it, as well? Look, if approached by police, we stand ready.
Yeah, and look, we have to assume...
Well, what do they know, and why haven't they said something before?
Why haven't they released stuff before? And is this just hearsay, or is it evidence? We don't know, do we? Right. But I'd like to think that the King of England, our monarch, would be beyond reproach in terms of honesty over such things, no matter who it is.
Right.
And I think, honestly, if he has got something on his brother that is incriminating, bearing in mind, pretty much nobody has gone to jail yet for the Epstein stuff, apart from Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein himself.
Right.
Look, it would be pretty inconvenient if it's the King's brother that goes to prison for something relating to such things, but so be it. And maybe that is the switch that he needs to flick, King Charles, to really reset the royal family as a bastion of integrity, because at the moment it's tainted because of Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we're going to be speaking coming up very shortly to an expert on this matter. Andrew Lowney, royal author, is going to be joining us. Kelvin's going to be coming back on the show as well with that. But it says also William, who is in Saudi Arabia with Kate, meeting Mohammed bin Salman, who was once accused of...
Didn't he chop up a journalist?
Chopping up a journalist and killing him.
Yeah.
He's okay, though, with that.
Yeah.
But he says he's deeply concerned by the continuing revelations surrounding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
Let's not give this Labour government any ideas when it comes to doing such things to journalists, shall we?
No, quite right.
We're already censoring people and putting people in prison for tweets.
I know.
And,
Leave that to murder.
I know. Absolutely right. Now, I've got a couple of other stories to mention. The Reeves leaked budget. Do you know how many people saw it before it came out?
It was small. It was only 25,000.
Just 25,000.
Yeah.
25,000 people saw the budget. I mean, just
I
ridiculous.
mean, people would not only lose their jobs back in the day for the budget being leaked, they'd go to prison.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I mean, but now, I mean, I know it gets trailed regularly to the media as a kind of test, but this.
Well, yeah, but trailing something and kind of hinting at something is
But this was
different
the
from
full
you
budget.
seeing the actual document.
Well, this was the whole thing, wasn't it? 4 or 5 hours before she
Well,
stood
because
on
a
her
bright
feet.
spark from Reuters basically went in and decided to change the code,
The URL.
on the PDF, right?
Yeah.
Of the budget from 2024 to 2025.
Yes, you could suss what it was.
And suddenly they could see it.
Yeah. So maybe it doesn't matter that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and the likes of Manson are leaking stuff left, right, and centre. The government are just doing it for themselves anyway.
Absolutely right. I haven't asked you about it yet because I'm going to do it as plank of the day. But the Winter Olympics, right? According to a piece in the Sun. Oh, actually, no, I tell a lie. It's in the Telegraph. Olympic medals are falling apart. Apparently.
What, breaking?
They're not very well made.
What, in the cold?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's the cold. I think they're just not very well
Not
made.
very
They're
well
probably
made
made in China. Or
Is
something.
anyone really taking notice of the Winter Olympics?
I hate it.
I mean, it seems a bit of a busted flush. now,
I
doesn't
absolutely hate it.
I mean, especially for us.
Every
because-
time I have a go at curling, people go, "Oh, we love curling."
Well, we do win the curling, but we only like curling because it's the only thing we can do. Because of course we're up against the Swedes and the Norwegians
you
and
can-
so on
if
in
you
every
can-
other sport. We're never going to win the skiing or the snowboarding.
But
are
if
we?
you can play a sport dressed as if you're in the lounge bar of a slightly odd pub in Scotland,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't think that's a sport, is it?
no. But you're right. The BBC are lavishing money and praise.
Well, the
on
BBC have got
golf.
nothing, have they? I mean, all they've got is women's football now. And as I said the other day, it's crap, right? I couldn't say this when I went to TalkSport because you weren't allowed to. You had to say, oh, women's football's brilliant. It's not, is it? It's just not. And so I'm going to keep saying it. And the same goes for the Winter Olympics.
Well, in
Last night I was watching it, and I mean, literally switching channels around, and it was the ice dancing. You know, which always looks a bit odd.
What, the whole Torvill and Dean thing?
Yeah, it's the sort of tall and dean thing. The women always look more butch.
So again, we haven't won that since then.
The women always look more butch than the men.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah. So the one I don't get is, I mean, you can argue, I suppose, that there's a little bit of excitement when it comes to the downhill and the slalom and the snowboard.
The
and so on.
bobsleigh, yeah, I suppose is all right.
Maybe, but we're all just waiting for
It's
them
only
to
when they
crash.
crash,
Yeah,
though.
we're just waiting for them to crash, aren't we? Let's be honest, that's why
True.
people go and watch such things.
Yeah.
But curling, I mean, curling to me is
Just
an absolute
ridiculous.
mystery. Right?
Yeah.
And I want to know how that bloody thing started. Who thought that, I don't know, I'll go and get some rocks from the mountains up the road,
Yeah.
stick one of them on an ice lake and push it and see
Yeah.
how far it will go.
Well-
and then my mate will do the same thing and we all get very excited.
That's why they're good at it in Scotland, because it's completely frozen up there all
There's
the
nothing
time.
else to do.
There's nothing else to do. You know, you don't drink whiskey for so many hours a day.
But the curling thing and the brooms and all that, you think, hang on, how is this a sport? I mean,
Yeah.
no one's running.
No.
one's exerting any energy.
No, there's a bloke with a brush or a woman with a brush. As I say, they're dressed as if they've gone down to some dodgy-looking pub.
Yeah. It's the kind of winter
for a
equivalent
Scotch
of
pie.
Ludo or Tiddlywinks, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's all it is.
Yeah, it really.
And
Yeah.
we might actually win something, and then we'll say, isn't it one of them? They'll get an OBE, of
But I
course,
think
and
again,
an
it's
MBE.
like the BBC's kind of wet dream, isn't it? And they all sit around congratulating themselves and congratulating all these people and trying to pretend that it's really, really exciting sport.
Yeah,
but it
it's
isn't.
not. It's really not.
It's really not.
No. It's and I won't be watching much of it at all. As you say, you only see it if you flip through the channels, don't you? But,
Exactly. Now,
yeah.
bad news I've got to say for James O'Brien today as well.
Oh dear, that's terrible.
Because
What's that?
Carl Beach has been released from jail.
Oh, wow.
A year early. This is the guy who was the
he believed him, didn't he?
initiator of all of those horrible rumours about child paedophile rings
Or celebrities in particular.
surrounding Edward Heath.
Yeah.
We had
Ted
Harvey
Richard.
Proctor on the show last week talking about it, how it ruined his life. And Carl Beach basically told a bucket load of lies. And the only journalist who believed him was James O'Brien.
Yeah, without doing any real diligence work at all.
Well, because he's not a proper journalist.
Yeah. So is he'll be on his show celebrating this?
Presumably he'll have Carl Beach on saying,
out for
were
a
you
few
wrongly locked
drinks.
up? Well, bizarrely, he's part of the Labour plan to release people early from prison.
Ah, is he?
So
what could possibly go wrong?
I know. I mean, just absolutely and utterly ridiculous. Meanwhile, over in Hong Kong, Jimmy Lai has been jailed for 20 years. And somebody said yesterday, because Yvette Cooper came out and said, obviously this is why we have to talk to the Chinese government because we need to get this man released. And it was like, well, actually your leader was in China.
Forgotten. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, didn't really do anything
We
about
didn't mention it at all,
No.
did he? Wouldn't it have been easy, I mean, in kind of 101 negotiations to say, right, you can have your embassy and I'll come over and see you as a consequence, but I'm not going to do anything other than that in terms of announcements, deals or whatever, unless you release him.
Well,
and the
surely
Chinese
yesterday-
surely would have just said, yeah, OK, fair enough, they would have released him. And that would have been a massive political coup for Keir Starmer
and
and
surely
government.
yesterday would have been an opportunity to say, to the Chinese, well, now that you've sentenced him for 20 years, we want you to immediately pardon him. Otherwise, you can't build your embassy.
Yeah, yeah. Or at least let us have him back so he can serve his time here, then release him.
Yeah.
No, of course.
You know, he's an old man who will probably now die in prison.
And let's not forget, his crimes, so-called crimes, were effectively speaking his mind, having a media outlet, and I think congregating in a public place and extolling his views.
Yeah.
All sounds very Starmer, doesn't it?
It does. A couple of messages coming in on the curling front. Where is it? It says here, curling was invented in Canada, says Eton, by weed smokers. I'm not sure if that's true. Curling is crown green bowling on ice, developed in the frozen north, starting with stones on ponds by Olympians, says Jammy Horse. Well, yeah, we know that, but doesn't mean...
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that makes it something exciting and something that we should all be getting behind, frankly.
And one here from Drew, who says, the way you feel about curling is how us Scots feel about cricket.
Oh, really?
Well, cricket's a proper game, though.
Well, just because they're not very good at it.
They're actually not bad at it. I mean, there is a Scottish cricket team. Yes, there is.
Who no one else has ever heard of.
They play in the World Cup.
Do they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Badly?
Well, they play. It's one of those where they play in the sort of the border regions. You know, there's a bit of Scotland called the Borders.
Who do they play against? Like Lithuania?
No, they play in the World Cup.
Do they?
Yeah.
You making this up?
No, I'm not joking. Ireland have got a team as well.
You are Scottish in your heritage.
I am, absolutely.
Okay.
Now, because I asked Kelvin this question, I asked Richard Tice as well. You will now be the third person I've asked. How long should you wait to text after a first date? Story in the Times. A study suggests playing it cool can get you frozen out. Basically, they've got a study in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, which they've done, and they've said basically those who were told they had received a message the next morning reported the highest intention of pursuing a relationship. Texting immediately was somewhat less effective, and waiting 2 days was the worst of all.
Was it? So I would have thought.
So it's a long time since you've gone out on a date with anyone.
Well, it's 19 years since I had a first date, but I would have thought even the next. Yeah, I've been married 18 years. So I would have thought that the next day surely was a bit keen, isn't it? I mean, it depends what happened the night before, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that you end up going your separate ways.
Yeah, and it's all very platonic. And good to meet you. Kiss on the cheek, off you go.
Yeah. The next day, I think is about right.
The next day, but not like first thing the next morning. You don't want to wake up and see a text that came in at 5:30 a.m. from you.
No,
That's
you don't want
very stalkerish.
Well, I think, but I'm a bit like the Curb Your Enthusiasm rules. You know, there are certain rules. You don't send people that you don't know very well messages outside of sort of working hours.
Yeah.
So if I'd gone out with somebody, I wouldn't want to text them until after 9 o'clock the next morning.
After 9 o'clock, yeah.
And certainly not after 7 o'clock at night.
And you had a kiss to the end of the text.
Difficult.
A bit like West Streeting and Peter Mandelson.
Well, West Streeting doesn't have a problem with that.
No, but they don't know each other. But you would just
apparently that's not an intimate relationship. Yeah, I think you've got to. Funny enough, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. You've got to be really careful about kisses. You know,
it's going to get misconstrued.
Yeah, I mean, Kelvin was saying he knows a couple of businessmen who send him.
I can't
kisses.
imagine Kelvin Mackenzie ever putting a kiss at the end of any of his.
Well,
texts.
he didn't say whether he did,
even to his wife.
Yeah, he did. But he said there are men who will send him a kiss. I mean, I'll do that with some of my friends. Because it's kind of it's just a bit of a joke, really.
Well, like the heart emoji when you're acknowledging someone's WhatsApp, if you, I don't know, are in a particularly pleasant mood, I suppose, and really vehemently agree with what they've just said, maybe, but...
I know, I wouldn't do a heart emoji. No, I wouldn't do a heart emoji.
As in, I love that, not I love you, but I love that.
No, I'll do a green tick sometimes.
We are plumbing the depths here, aren't we, in emoji...
No, but I think these things are important, you know, because when you talk to your kids, you know, they have a completely different language. That they speak to each other, you know.
Well, and they only speak to each other on text, WhatsApp and Snapchat. They won't. My daughters just don't pick up the phone anymore.
No.
They just don't want to speak.
Yeah.
So it's all on text, mainly on Snapchat apparently, which I'm not on.
Yeah, Snapchat. Yeah, you're too old for that.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be on Snapchat.
I don't understand it.
It's definitely a Prince Andrew vibe again for them, I'm afraid, for that one.
If I was on it, people would ask questions.
Stay away from Snapchat. Right, listen, anyway, where's the time going? 8:32. Great to see you. Russell Quirk, thank you very much indeed. Coming up, Andrew Lowney's going to be here. Kelvin Mackenzie's coming back. We're going to talk to Baroness Claire Fox a little bit later on, and Layla Cunningham is coming in as well, the mayoral candidate, of course, for the City of London. And we'll see if she can beat Sadiq Khan. I don't know whether it's possible, but we'll ask her about the first date thing as well. We get a women's perspective on that. Coming up, it's time for the news with Edward Hughes.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer is fighting for his political survival amid a major crisis triggered by the appointment of Lord Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador. Revelations about Mandelson's past links to Jeffrey Epstein have led to the resignations of Starmer's Chief of Staff and Communications Director. Scottish Labour leader Enes Sarwar publicly urged Starmer to quit, calling Number 10's performance not good enough, but cabinet ministers rallied behind the PM. Starmer told Labour MPs he's not prepared to walk away from his mandate and vowed to fight on against challenges from Reform UK and Nigel Farage. The King expressed profound concern and offered royal support for police assessments into fresh Epstein-related claims involving Prince Andrew, including allegations of sharing confidential UK trade documents. Persistent heavy rain has brought severe flooding, with over 100 flood warnings across the UK, following what forecasters call an exceptionally wet start to 2026, and more downpours expected for up to 10 days. Other headlines include a nursery worker found guilty of raping young children, described as every parent's nightmare. Government plans to wipe £5 billion in council special educational needs, debts to avert bankruptcies, and the British Museum securing funds to keep a rare Henry VIII linked pendant. Political turmoil in Westminster dominates, with economic ripples like falling stocks adding pressure.
Welcome back. 8:34 is the time. A few years ago, I had a first date with a copper. An hour after leaving, I received a text saying good night. I replied with goodbye. The most boring date ever, says Witch Hazel. Okay. Kelvin back for seconds. Great stuff, says Nigel. Is Edward Hughes gay, says Vivian. That's a very unusual question, and I'm not going to answer that.
This doesn't work.
Pooch, what a great show. 3, camera direction, the best guest, and Mike to stitch it up. Amazing. Good show, says David, listening from Cape Town. And what else have we got? Reform know that MG's show is now the place to be. Yeah, well, we had Richard Tice on, and we're going to have Lady Cunningham on coming up a little bit later on as well. Right now, though, I think we're hoping to have Andrew Lowney. I don't know if he's there yet, is he? He is. Andrew, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm here with Kelvin McKenzie, who will join in the conversation and ask you a couple of questions as well. Extraordinary times we live in, where we've got a Prime Minister who may or may not be resigning in the next 48 hours or so. But meanwhile, on the front pages this morning, the King saying that basically we will help any police inquiry into my brother Andrew's doings. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite so brazen from a member of the royal family. What's going on? Tell us.
Well, I mean, I think this is just optics. The fact is that the King has known about the Andrew problem for 15 years. They've actually tried to shut it down. And legal threats have been issued against journalists to stop them reporting the story. Strong-arm tactics have been used, denying them access to members of the royal family. ABC television backed off from a documentary on those grounds. So I take this slightly with a pinch of salt. I don't think it's going to cut the mustard with the public, who want Andrew to be properly held account, and for the palace to actually explain what they knew, when they knew it, what they did about it then, and what they're going to do about it now. And I think also the government have questions. They've actually kept all the files to do with Andrew's times of trade and void closed when they should be open. And I think we need those files open. And I think, again, the police have had countless opportunities to investigate Andrew. The FBI passed some files in 2022. And it seems it needs a private prosecution to actually get them to look at this evidence, which is pretty clear, not only from the Epstein releases recently, but was actually spelled out in my book. And if Mandelson has been investigated for misconduct in public office, then Andrew should be, because his leaking of confidential information was far more extensive.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Andrew. So you wrote a book, The Rise and Fall of the House of York. That was back in August. You basically hurried up the exit of Andrew from the royal family. Were you surprised at the effect your book had?
Yes, of course, naturally. I mean, I think I loosened the earth. It was in the zeitgeist at the time. I mean, I think it emboldened the press to report perhaps slightly more negatively about the royal family, stories that they knew. And I think the real driver has been social media. It's the pressure from the public, which has been put on the media and to parliamentarians to actually do something. And then, of course, clearly the release of the Epstein material has just confirmed many of the things that I wrote about it last August and was pilloried for, saying I made it up and it was all salacious gossip. And every time things, for example, Epstein introducing Trump to Melania is now being shown. The extent of the relationship between Sarah Ferguson and Andrew with Epstein is now very clear. The fact the Queen protected Andrew, which people said was impossible, is now very clear. So I'm afraid, the whole thing is beginning to unravel. And I think that the monarchy needs to do more than just say they're cooperating with the police.
Can I ask you, you raised the point about Melania. Charles Redmayne was the chief executive of HarperCollins London branch. Do you think that his exit was due to Trump disliking your book?
I don't know. I mean, those decisions to take that line out were made in America. I know that the British side were not happy about it. I mean, it's slightly ironic because the book isn't published in the States by Collins. But I think it's just part of lawfare. I mean, the way that rich and powerful people use the courts to try and suppress free speech, not because the stuff is not true, but because people can't be bothered with the expense and hassle of fighting these cases. And I think that's a very worrying development. But I can take pride that the only two people who didn't like the book in terms of trying to issue summons were Prince Harry and President Trump. No one else.
Yeah, well, that's a good pedigree, isn't it?
Okay. On your book, do you believe that there is more problems of a really serious nature facing Andrew Mountbatten Windsor?
Absolutely. I mean, there was a lot of material taken out for legal reasons. I mean, all my Peter Mandelson stuff was taken out because no one believed it.
Really?
But there's plenty of material to do with financial irregularities, bribes, for example, in Kazakhstan, underage girls, and the whole national security question hasn't really been addressed. The fact is, because the royal family has no proper scrutiny, the Russian and Chinese secret services use that as a way to penetrate the establishment. And I think until we get more transparency from the royals, that's always going to be a vulnerability, particularly if you have greedy royals like Andrew and Sarah Ferguson.
Okay. Interesting. Can I just ask one? So it sounds to me like you've got enough material for another book, Andrew.
I do. It's called Untitled.
And when's that out?
Well, I need time to write it and research it, but I would think within the next 2 years.
Right. So that's a very good point. Do you believe in 2 years' time that Andrew will be in a cell?
Well, I mean, certainly if he was kept at His Majesty's pleasure, that would solve his accommodation problems, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, it would filter through to your earlier theory, Kelvin, that he'll end up in a smaller and smaller sort of place of accommodation.
Yeah.
As he moves from Royal Lodge to Sandringham, and he finally ends up in a cell somewhere.
How many books have you sold?
Well, I don't know, but it's clearly still selling, which is great. But I think I write books in an attempt to shift the dial, and I think we have shifted the dial here.
And in terms of the way that the police will react to this story, you said that it's probably not necessarily going to be enough from the royal family's perspective to actually say we are going to help you investigate Andrew. But I mean, will the police react, do you think, to this?
No, I'm afraid not. I mean, I'm afraid, we still live in a very deferential world towards the royal family. I think there are two laws, one for the royal family and one for everyone else. I mean, I've offered material to the National Crime Agency, who should be looking into this. The Met will say, we've looked into this and nothing to see, same old story. And I think until we have, as I say, those files released from his time as a trade envoy, we won't have all the evidence that could be produced to show how corrupt he is. We've got to actually remember, this is a story about financial corruption by a senior royal who was supported by the and protected by the institution. I mean, that's a big story.
It really is a massive story, isn't it? And what about the American involvement now with the Department of Justice having all of these files, looking at them all, seeing what Mandelson has been up to, seeing what Andrew's been up to? Do you see them putting any pressure on the royal family to try and at least get Andrew to talk to someone?
Well, I mean, they can't put pressure on Andrew. I mean, he doesn't have to give evidence. I mean, and he won't. For 15 years, the victims' lawyers, there was a mutual legal assistance treaty, all sorts of people approached him, and he refused to cooperate. And he's not going to cooperate now. I mean, the only way he's going to cough up is if PC Plod comes and knocks on his door in Sandringham.
Do you believe that the children are, their relationship with their parents is damaged by this? Or do you think there's just PR they're putting out into the news sites saying they're not talking to their dad or mum or something?
Well, there's a huge PR campaign to try and protect the daughters. The line is that, they're privately staying in touch, but publicly distancing themselves, appalled by everything. The fact is the daughters knew all about this. I mean, money was fenced through their accounts. They received gifts from some of the dodgy people that their parents dealt with. And they're deeply involved. They were taken on many of these taxpayer-funded trips, paid for by the taxpayer with all the attendant security costs, built up a nice contacts book, and are now exploiting that in their jobs. So I'm afraid the daughters are pretty deeply involved in this story too, despite the spin that's been sent out.
And is that true of Fergie as well?
Well, Fergie's absolutely. They're Bonnie and Clyde. They're partners in crime. I mean, we know from the News of the World sting in 2010 that she was selling access to Andrew. It wasn't an isolated incident. This was a series of events where it was very openly boasting that he was using his links as a trade envoy to basically introduce people. We know, for example, that he was offered a £3.85 million bung to introduce a Greek water company in Kazakhstan. So, yeah, I mean, there are huge questions about Sarah Ferguson, not least under charity law, under the Companies Act. So she's a material witness. She should be giving evidence. She was staying in these houses. There are more numbers for her in the Epstein Black Book than for Andrew. And I think there's a good case to investigate and charge her as well.
Well, when you see stories like the one in which she is exchanging emails, Kelvin, with Epstein, suggesting her friend with a great body that you might wish to meet, or you might wish to marry, or you might wish to employ, you kind of go, that's just obviously one message of many. And let me ask you this, Andrew, in terms of what we know about obviously the underage girls that were on offer at Epstein's island and his villas and around the world, were there any underage boys involved as well?
Yes, I believe there were. Epstein was an equal opportunities employer, and he gave people exactly what they wanted. And if they wanted boys, he himself, I understand, had a sexual relationship with Lex Wexner. So he was bisexual, as was Ghislaine Maxwell. So yeah, it was the complete a la carte service.
Wow. And that means that Peter Mandelson was very disingenuous when he gave that interview to Laura Kuenssberg, in which he said, because I was a gay man,
great point.
I didn't actually really have any knowledge or was never told of any of the sexual misconduct because I wasn't interested in girls. I always doubted that because I thought to myself, well, if you're going to procure underage girls for sex, you're probably going to procure underage boys as well.
Yes, I mean, there were a series of honey trap operations. I mean, it was all about collecting compromat on people to be able to blackmail them and to trade information and use this information. I suspect there will be, I know there will be more coming out about Mandelson. So I wouldn't perhaps take what he says entirely. I would take it with a pinch of salt.
Extraordinary.
Well, I wonder, is there there was one phrase that I saw you use, I think in a Daily Mail article, suggesting that there was a threesome between Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and a British Prime Minister. Now, I took it that it wasn't Theresa May, right? So I wonder, and you said it wasn't Winston Churchill. Who was it?
Sued, but it is actually in the Epstein releases, and I'm amazed that the press haven't picked up on it. They actually talk about the orgy, and they named the particular individual.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Well, I guess this is probably not the place to say it. If nobody else is saying it. But thank you. Andrew, this is fascinating stuff. So in your view, there's so much more that could be being written by the press, but which is not being written despite the availability of information. Are you saying they're frightened of being sued? Are they frightened of upsetting people? What's the story?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of material to go through, 3 million pages. I mean, there's a lot of work being done by, in effect, citizen journalists on Substack. There's a lot of stuff in people's podcasts, for example. I had lots of stories about satanic rites and all sorts of things that I was given, and I didn't believe them. I discarded them. But we're now seeing stories of for example, 2 girls who may have been killed in rough sex, buried on a golf course. I understand Surrey police have approached the FBI about a story connected with Prince Andrew. There's bodies being found on royal estates. So this is getting darker and darker, and it seems that what people are telling me may have some truth about it, because this was about 4 or 5 different people.
Wow.
Well,
I'm literally speechless at this point.
And what I can't understand about this is that there are so many different conspiracy stories, true stories involving the premier family of our land, that actually, what my suspicion is that journalists have become bored by it. It took 4 years of your life to put this book together. And I get the impression that most journalists today are being spoon-fed this stuff and therefore can't be bothered to spend 4 minutes looking at it. Is that your view?
Yes, I'm journalism around, but people are very lazy, and this is true about royal coverage generally. People don't do the legwork. I talked to 300 people, approached 3,000 people, and have, I only used about a tenth of my material. Poor journalists don't have the time to do this sort of research, but they are being spoon-fed stuff. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff in my book, which still hasn't been covered in the press. Andrew's mistress in Mayfair, the mistress, Sonia Cooling, the Thai that he took on with him to Thailand. So there's lots of stuff that actually is in the public domain and isn't even being covered.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. It's great. Great journalism, great book.
Fantastic journalism and an incredible story. And I look forward to the second book coming out, or the next book coming out. Anyway, Andrew, thank you very much indeed. Andrew Loney there. I'm actually quite shocked, Kelvin. I mean, I'm not easily shocked. He's talking about dead bodies on royal estates. Yeah. He's talking about girls being killed during rough sex, buried on golf courses. I mean, this is extraordinary.
Yes, and the reality is that we don't know any of it. And the problem is that we never believe it of the royal family. We just say, oh, it's just tabloid stuff.
Yeah.
None of this is true. I mean, for instance, the Sunday Times employ a royal editor, right? Yes. And I
don't know what she does.
Yeah, it's hard to know what she does because I'm not being critical particularly of her. But the truth about the matter is you could fill up the Sunday Times every Sunday from now until doomsday with this stuff. A very interesting aspect that I noticed that Andrew didn't really want to get involved in was that, so Charlie Redmayne, a relative of Eddie Redmayne, the actor, one day is authoring away or working away as the chief executive of HarperCollins, wholly owned by the Murdoch Corporation. And in comes, surprisingly, the chief executive of HarperCollins Worldwide. And the next minute, Mr. Charlie Redmayne has his coat on and he's being escorted from the building in which you know well.
Yes.
It
happened about a week before I was not escorted from the building, but left.
Okay. So he gets the old the DCM, don't come Monday.
Yeah.
And not a word. What week would that have been? When would that have been? In September?
It would have been October, yeah.
In October. Okay.
First or second week of October.
So there we have nearly 4.5 months ago.
Yeah.
Not a word has been said about Mr. Charlie Redmayne. Now, Charlie Redmayne within the building was considered to have done a good job.
Yeah. I knew him quite well, actually. Well, no, I didn't know him quite well, but I mean, I'd see him at events and things like that.
Okay. So he hasn't said a word.
No.
Most people, I know Charlie very minimally, but most people speak highly of
Yeah.
him. Firstly, as a professional.
I believe he'd been with the company since about 2006.
Yeah.
Right, so a loyal kind of, servant, if you like.
And the next minute, he's getting the big slingola with no explanation. Had the company collapsed under him in London? No, it appears to have done the reverse. Everybody says good things. So I think the trick lies with Lowney's book, because in Lowney's book, there was a mention of Melania.
Yeah.
And in America, Mr. Trump gets on the phone to alleged to Rupert Murdoch, I don't know whether that's true or not, and says, get that line out. They trashed the book in the US. And
Because he said, did he not, the book wasn't on sale in the US?
No, what he said was it was distributed by somebody else in the US,
okay.
not by HarperCollins.
Right.
Anyway, boom. And while you're at it, if you be very kindly, that something should happen. And something did happen.
Yeah.
Charlie Redmayne lost his job.
Yeah.
And I have
presumably signed an NDA because he hasn't spoken about it.
And the reason why everybody's kept stum about this, because were it to emerge that Charlie Redmayne was fired because Trump wanted him out, and that the Murdoch Corporation agreed to this, then a whole load of HarperCollins authors might say, I will do very well, I'll go somewhere else with my wares if this company is being run at the, God bless you, of Donald Trump. So I don't know what happened, and Andrew Lowney said the only people that really objected to the book were him and were Trump and
Prince Harry.
And Prince Harry, which actually are badges of honour. And I would be fascinated to know under what circumstances Mr. Redmayne did leave.
Yes. In the old-fashioned Private Eye, when it used to be a good magazine, used to say, I think we should be told.
I think we should be told.
But I suspect we won't be. Fascinating stuff. Kelvin, thank you so much again. Andrew, I mean, I'm literally, I don't know, I'm going to have to go and lie down, I think, soon. I mean, Claire Fox, I think, is here. Layla Cunningham's here as well, coming in to talk about matters to do with the state of the play of this government. We've got plenty more to do, plenty more to talk about as well, because at the end of the day, there's so much news going on. It's hard.
Right.
To, it's
well,
hard
one
to
of
take
the
it
things
all in.
that upsets me is that I see that Carl Beech
Carl
has been
Beech freed
freed
early.
a year early.
Yeah.
Now he destroyed many lives.
Well, we spoke to Harvey Propster last week,
Yeah.
and he's still a broken man.
Yeah, he's a broken man over it. And what I can't understand
There it
is
is.
among the people who might be freed, I would have thought he would be at the end of a very, very long list.
You would like to think so.
If you remember,
He served only half of his sentence. Only half.
Right. So he, if you remember rightly, there was a Home Secretary, a former Tory Home Secretary, who he accused of...
Leon Britton, I think.
Yes,
right?
Leon Britton it was. He accused of this, that and the other. All of which, by the way, were total lies.
Complete
involving
rubbish.
child sex and all the rest of it, right? Leon Britton died with this still hanging over him, right? And I remember Mrs. Lady Britton was extremely upset about that.
Yeah, because his name was never cleared, was it, before he died?
So he accused the same thing about Edward Heath.
Yeah.
There was a field marshal.
Yes, Lord Bramall, I think his name
Lord
was.
Bramall. He was fortunately still alive, I think, when he was finally totally cleared.
Yeah.
I have never seen a reply, I've never seen a word of acknowledgement that of the 10 to 1 guy on LBC.
O'Brien.
That he had taken up this cause because he wanted it to be true. And the reason he wanted it to be true because it involved Conservatives.
Yes.
And
he put on a guy, he didn't put Carl Beech on his show, but he put a guy on from something called Exaro Media, which was only set up as a news organisation to pump this story out, basically. They didn't do any other stories.
Right.
And the guy who ran Exaro Media was on O'Brien's show multiple times talking about it, and O'Brien literally just swallowed all of it. And was quite happy to continue.
Have you ever heard O'Brien say, I'm very sorry that I was duped by it?
No, I think he's alluded to it because I know that there have been pieces written. Douglas Murray wrote a big piece in The Spectator about it, basically sort of, rubbishing O'Brien and rubbishing his journalistic endeavours because he simply didn't ask the right questions, and he, as you say, wanted to believe the story that was clearly not true. Brian tried to sue me as well at one point because I called him a pedo apologist, which is indeed what he is.
Did he actually issue
sent
legal
me
proceedings?
a 4-page letter from old Carter Ruck, otherwise known as Carter.
He's something else.
And I basically told him to go and shove it. I said, if you want me to appear in court and explain why I think he's a pedo apologist, he should understand that there was no comma in between the two words. Therefore, he has no case. And I said, I think if I were you, I would tell your client to let sleeping dogs lie. Get stuffed. So he did. I never heard from him again.
I tell you what, when journalists start saying they're going to sue journalists, you basically have reached a very low moment.
Head for the hills. Exactly right. Right. Anyway, listen, Kelvin, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. We're getting through so much today because there's so much to talk about. As I say, Layla Cunningham's here. Claire Fox, I think, is here as well. Yes, I can see her. Hello. She found her way in. We've got lots more to do. Let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer is fighting for his political survival amid a major crisis triggered by the appointment of Lord Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador. Revelations about Mandelson's past links to Jeffrey Epstein have led to the resignations of Starmer's Chief of Staff and Communications Director. Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar publicly urged Starmer to quit, calling Number 10's performance not good enough, but cabinet ministers rallied behind the PM. Starmer told Labour MPs he's not prepared to walk away from his mandate and vowed to fight on against challenges from Reform UK and Nigel Farage. The King expressed profound concern and offered royal support for police assessments into fresh Epstein-related claims involving Prince Andrew, including allegations of sharing confidential UK trade documents. Persistent heavy rain has brought severe flooding, with over 100 flood warnings across the UK, following what forecasters call an exceptionally wet start to 2026, and more downpours expected for up to 10 days. Other headlines include a nursery worker found guilty of raping young children, described as every parent's nightmare. Government plans to wipe £5 billion in council special educational needs, debts to avert bankruptcies, and the British Museum securing funds to keep a rare Henry VIII-linked pendant. Political turmoil in Westminster dominates, with economic ripples like falling stocks adding pressure.
Thank you very much indeed. That was the news with Edward Hughes. I'm delighted to now say, for the first time here, live on the Mike Graham Show, Baroness Claire Fox. How nice to see you.
It's good to be here.
Now, I know you had a bit of trouble finding the place, so...
I was challenged by the geography and got lost about 4 times.
We don't tell people exactly where we are for obvious reasons, because, we might have, crowds of well-wishers.
On the other hand, he did tell me, and I still didn't find it, so,
So it's not that easy to find. Anyway, welcome. Good to see you. We live in very strange times. As I said to Kelvin Mackenzie, I mean, on any other day, we'd only be talking about the fact that the King has apparently said he's going to shop his own brother to the police. But we'll pass on that one for the moment because I can't believe the way the press are kind of reporting the Starmer story. PM comes out fighting as cabinet falls in line, it says on the front page of the Times, which is not the way I see it.
Well, I think he has come out fighting in as much as he went in and he said, I've never lost a fight yet.
Yeah.
Which you do think that doesn't really quite explain the U-turns phenomena, which means it seems to me that he's lost a lot of fights.
Also, we've seen him punching.
The truth is, he's never had a fight.
Well, we've got that. I don't know if we can play it, Pooch. That ridiculous video. There we are of him punching a punch bag. I mean, he doesn't look like he's won that one, does it? He's actually lost to a punch bag.
But I do think there's something about the arrogance of imagining that by persuading your cabinet, and your backbench MPs to shut up, that somehow you are now in a position where you can authoritatively rule is just so self-regarding.
But doesn't it also tell you, and you'll know this better than anyone, how kind of twisted the Westminster bubble is?
Exactly.
Because as he went in last night and he got into the back of that car in Downing Street to go to Parliament to speak to his troops, and they were sort of breathlessly reporting that, he entered the room to cheers and claps. And you're kind of going, that means nothing
More
to me.
than one standing ovation. What? I know. So the people who've got lost in this whole conversation are the voters.
Yeah.
And the truth is that this latest scandal, we should not allow to drown out a whole period of scandals. I mean, this isn't the only scandal.
No.
And I can't stand the fact that he was able to stand up in that press conference last week and say, I want to issue my heartfelt apology to all the victims of Epstein and all the rest of it. He's never done that to the victims of the grooming gangs, has he? And everybody else that he sold out, by the way.
He also didn't mention the victims of Epstein when he appointed Mandelson to be ambassador.
But all I'm saying is, it's not the only scandal.
Right.
He was already the most unpopular prime minister in the country, right? Historically.
Yes.
He actually has no authority to govern.
No.
And he has very little support within his own party, but certainly the voters have turned against him.
Right.
So the idea that he says, how dare the press have a go at me, I've made my apology, let me go, carry on.
Yeah.
And then they start saying things like, we're going to bring it, we've done, what is it, breakfast clubs. And if they say breakfast clubs again, I'm going to whack them.
Seriously.
It's the whole thing is
and
ridiculous.
Also, they're still telling lies about the NHS. I mean, it was only the other day, I think it was David Lammy, at Prime Minister's Questions when Starmer was away, who repeated the lie, we've reduced the waiting lists by 86,000, which we now know to be completely untrue.
Completely
because
fiddle the
they're
books.
literally just crossing names off.
Yeah, removing
right?
dead people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to believe that you would get away with that. I know. So I'm simply saying that the Epstein scandal, the Mandelson scandal is shocking.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't allow it to be the only thing on which he's held to account. I mean, I watched Newsnight last night because I do watch the BBC.
Do you know
from time
you're
to
the second
time.
person? Kelvin said that. I said, well, you must be one of 5 people watching. He said, no, they've gone back up in
They
his
have gone back
estimation.
up. But anyway, I watched it, and you had Baroness Helena Kennedy and Phil Collins, who was a Blairite, worked at Number 10.
Not the Genesis drummer.
Not the Genesis drummer. That would have been more interesting. But anyway, and he's the editor of Prospect magazine now.
Okay.
And they were basically having this completely complacent smug. He's survived. He's going to go out there. And I thought, this is like you lot are so inward looking that you cannot imagine that there's a country of people tearing their hair out.
Yeah.
There's kind of gaslighting and
who can't afford the weekly shop, basically.
No, exactly.
Who are worried about the council tax going up. Who are worried possibly about if they've got a business, the business going under. These are people who are not interested in the ins and outs of, Westminster.
But also who have completely been treated as though they're second-class citizens and despised culturally.
Yeah.
And so obviously people are thinking, I mean, I said if the public are watching, I mean, obviously they're not watching Newsnight, I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, voters never came into it. It's all about maintaining the internal coherence of the Labour Party as they cling to power, which they are not able to use. Because it's not as, do we really think that now Starmer is going to be brave enough to tackle, for example, the welfare crisis?
Of course not.
And the bill? Of course not.
Because
he wasn't before.
Yeah.
He definitely isn't now.
Because all of the kind of the machinations of the last 24 hours have been all about favours, phone calls, who's going to come behind, if I offer you my support, what do I get in return?
Exactly.
It's a kind of a horse trading
exactly.
scenario.
It's so internal looking. Anyways, and that's what's happening there.
It's terrible, isn't it? And so what's your view of what happens next? Because, I mean, I've been asking people today, the next 24 hours, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes. I mean, I suspect he now thinks, if he's looking at headlines like that this morning in the Times, he's going to go, well, I think we've dodged a bullet. I think we're all right for a couple of days.
He's bumptious enough, and they haven't got an alternative, let's be honest.
And
there is no one in the wings.
And the Labour
MPs
haven't got enough balls, have they, to have a go?
No. One of the things that we've seen, I just said, was the cowardice of the people who were obviously critical of him, have all been on the phone, texting and messaging journalists and saying he's got to go. And then suddenly they get in a room and they go, oh, we don't know what to do. So they just haven't got the courage and they carry on.
No.
So what's going to happen is he'll cling on for a while. But that's not the same as governing. Look, if this were some internal row in the Labour Party, none of us would care. This is the government that runs our country with millions and millions of people dependent on what this government does. And as they're not capable of holding it together, that's a very terrible situation for people.
So if they cling on, say this week, and Starmer somehow manages to stagger into, I don't know, the end of February, we get to the by-election.
They'll survive the by-election, I think, because the by-election, they're already spinning and saying, oh, lots of governments have survived losing by-elections, right? I think May is different.
Yeah.
And it depends what happens in May. I mean, we can all assume that it's going to be Reform's Day in the sun. But Reform can't be complacent either.
No.
And so consequently, it could be very messy and we don't really know.
Well, also, Reform are now in that place, aren't they, where if they don't win, for example, in Gorton, it will be a failure.
That's
Which
right.
it shouldn't be, really.
No, it shouldn't be. But it's like Caerphilly, right? It's like what happened in Caerphilly, where you kind of... And I've got extended family in Caerphilly, and they were so upset and disappointed, and it felt like they'd been told it was a done thing, then they didn't get it.
Right.
Now, actually, they'd gone from 0 to having a huge vote, but nonetheless, that's a problem, I think, for reform, isn't it?
And similarly in May, if they don't sweep the board and if they don't, take control of every single council in Britain, everyone will go, so we think they've plateaued now.
It sort of depends what the narrative is. But one of the problems for the Labour Party, seriously, is that there is no one obvious to replace Starmer. I mean, even within their own terms, right? They themselves got rid of Andy Burnham, who would have been the obvious one.
Yeah, and that looks like a pretty stupid decision now.
I can't understand. The Wes Streeting point is like hilarious, because Wes Streeting has revealed his WhatsApp messages between him and Mandelson.
Yes.
So he starts them fresh. And you could say that's a kind of interesting political tactic.
It is.
Actually, if you read them, and it's not that I think, he's sleazy when you read them, but you do think, he's so opportunist. He's kind of like prepared to dump Israel, which he's always been very sympathetic to, on the basis of how his margins in his local constituency are not getting voted
also,
again.
Also, he looked really uncomfortable, and we played the clip earlier. I'm not sure we're going to do it. Should we play it again? Yeah. We can play it again. He looks really uncomfortable because, and Kelvin was saying, maybe he knows that there's other stuff in there that he doesn't want to come out. And that's why he's looking so uncomfortable.
Well, whether we like it or not, he's mates with Mandelson. I mean, I'm not on the... Let me assure you, my WhatsApp messages don't need de-Mandelousing. Mandy, nowhere there, right? I do not say...
I said this the other day. It's like, don't worry about the Epstein files. I'm not in them, right? I can be absolutely sure about that. I've never been to the island.
So what I mean is he's part of that clique, and it's the Blairite clique, we know that. So, in fact, there's quite a lot of people in the Lords who are part of that clique, so it's been quite interesting watching them all scurrying around.
Oh, absolutely.
Looking worried.
Yes. Well, let's have a look at what he said to Beth Rigby.
I've got these messages here, and I've only just, to be honest, Wes, I'm literally just reading them shortly before you came in. But there is a lot of genuine intimacy here and friendship. Wes to Peter, great pitch, lovely photos in the time. Peter sends you a kiss. There's well done on the BBC. This is Peter Mandelson to you in June 25. I'm literally reading them as I go along. Well done on the BBC. Very good kiss. Are you planning to visit the US this year? You hope so, ! Kiss. Are you embarrassed by that? I mean, that's quite an intimate friendship, isn't it?
No, look, an intimate friendship. With Peter Mandelson, look, I'm
there's dozens and dozens.
I'm very happy to...
But there are dozens and dozens of messages here.
And people will be able to read them. What I felt I saw over the weekend was this implication that somehow I had something to hide and that there were going to be very embarrassing or damaging messages coming out. Now, do I resile from friendship with Peter Mandelson? Yes, absolutely, given his behaviour and what he's done. Do I resile from those messages? No.
How embarrassed are you by these WhatsApps between you and him?
I'm embarrassed to have known Peter Mandelson. I hope that, more than anything else, actually, in those messages, I hope I haven't caused either embarrassment or discomfort for my cabinet colleagues.
So, Wes Streeting there saying he doesn't want to cause any discomfort for his cabinet colleagues. I think it may be a bit late for that. Charlie Faulkner, let's talk about him, because he is, of course, Lord Faulkner. He was one of the great creators of the Blair movement, wasn't he? Because he employed Tony Blair and Cherie Blair in his chambers, I think.
Well, it's quite interesting, because the Lords is full of people who are mates of Mandy.
Yeah, right.
And when I first went into the Lords, you'd sort of see he was like a dark presence. He never spoken anything, but he kind of like hover around the Labour benches. And to be honest with you, a lot of them looked intimidated. But anyway,
because he's known to be quite a vindictive individual,
and also he's been manipulated. He was. That's a few years ago, if you see what I mean. Anyway, so he was obviously somebody that people were slightly intimidated with. That was my view, or mates with, right? So one of those people is, yes, Lord Faulkner, Charlie Faulkner. And the significance of this is that, and there's also, is it Lord Liddell, Roger Liddell, who has regular gatherings, Wes Streeting goes to them, meals, where they all sit round and plan Labour strategy. And apparently they were very influential in getting Labour elected. They're part of that strategy. And, Morgan McSweeney'd be at the dinners and they have regular gatherings. So he's Lord Liddell. And so there's Neil Kinnock, and there's a big crowd of them, right? Anyway, the reason why this is significant is because Lord Faulkner is the person who has been pushing through the assisted dying bill in the House of Lords. And of course, people will have maybe followed this story because the public story is that the Lords are filibustering and trying to stop this bill getting through. Right. But the truth is, this is a corrupt story, isn't it? The Prime Minister of our country, Keir Starmer, tells Esther Ranson, a celebrity, that yes, he will get through an assisted dying bill. That's not how you're meant to decide policy, by the way. Doesn't put it in a manifesto, but he does make a big public fuss about it.
To happen.
Yeah, and also famous person. And so then they sponsor, there's a private members bill. Government have got nothing to do with that, apparently. But actually, it's got all the hallmarks of somebody very senior in Labour who pushing it through. And it arrives in the Lords. And I really do think that Peter Mandelson's friend, Lord Faulkner, Charlie Faulkner, thought that it would just be, that we'd all just be a pushover.
Just a rubber stamp,
They were able to say, oh, it's just a bunch of old kind of cranks and Christian types. And suddenly, actually, there's a genuine cross-party gathering of people who say, even if I agree with assisted dying in principle, this bill is not fit for purpose. Right. And so we've held it to account and scrutinised it. But they have gone absolutely apoplectic. But the way that they've done it is by briefing the press. They basically, we now have more time on a private members bill than has ever been spent on anything. They're threatening the Parliaments Act, which would then force it through the next administration. But I think as the chief cheerleader of this in a senior place is in fact Keir Starmer, that might not go so well. But I just don't like this kind of cabal of people, and they're used to getting their own way. And I think that Lord Faulkner, he's obviously passionate about assisted dying, fine. But I can't bear that we make our speeches, I write my speech, I worry about what I'm going to say. It's an important issue whether the state should have the right to hand you poison.
Right. And it's coming across as well as a bit of a middle-class endeavour, it seems to me. That rope in the Times, rope in some influential columnists who might be, a bit posh, who can say, oh, of course we should have this. Why wouldn't you want it for your elderly mother? When ordinary people are going, I'm not, as you say.
Well, at least you've got to be careful.
Yeah.
You've got to, they've got to amend the NHS constitution in order to allow doctors to not first do no harm, but now have the right
it's bad enough.
Hand you the means through which you will kill yourself.
It's bad enough
on the NHS.
It's bad enough on the NHS. They kill you by accident. If you start giving them the right to do it deliberately, you're really in trouble.
By the way, it's going to cost a fortune, should anyone want to know. There's that special groups of doctors going to have to do it. They're going to have to set up special facilities. Right. They say they can't afford palliative care. They say they can't afford to help with social care. Somehow they're going to find the money to run a service that can help you end your days and kill yourself. And by the way, it's the campaign group behind it's called Dignity in Dying. Well, the truth is, it does not provide this beautiful, blissful death, right?
No.
As I say, you have to ingest poisonous materials. But also, I think that we've got to say, as a society, we're going to do absolutely everything to make the obvious tragedy of somebody dying as comfortable as we can. And I want to spend the money on that. I want it to go on hospices, on better medical interventions, not encouraging a bunch of doctors to actually help you end it. And by the way, somebody with Down syndrome, somebody who's got pre-dementia and doesn't quite understand what's going on, they can be eligible. I mean, seriously, it's irresponsible.
There's definitely something not right with it. Definitely something not right. We'll have to talk about it some more because we're out of time, unfortunately. Claire Fox, great to see you.
It's been lovely to be here.
Thank you very much. Now you know where we are. You can pop down a bit more regularly.
I can possibly get here on time, Mike.
No, not at all.
I mean, thank you very much for having me.
Great
and
to
good
see
luck
you.
with the rest of the programme.
Always great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Coming up, we're going to be speaking to Layla Cunningham, who, of course, is running to be Mayor of London for Reform. We'll find out what she makes of the whole Keir Starmer psychodrama as far as that is concerned. We've got lots and lots of great messages coming through. Nick says, Mike Graham's back like a hurricane of fresh air. That's very nice. Simon says, Claire Fox, the national health system is broken. Margaret says, well said, Claire, hospitals and social care need the money. Stop spending it on migrants. Well, that's true. Irish says, or Trish rather, sorry, as a retired nurse, the murder bill scares me a lot. I think so. Well said, Claire says, Tony, see, I think a lot of people would agree with what Claire Fox just said there. You know, it's all very well talking about how, you know, people should have dignity in dying. But actually, when you think about what it is that, the government is effectively asking for doctors to be able to do, I think it's a very, very dangerous road to go down. Got a couple of really good comments coming in about Claire Fox saying how great she is. There was one just there, but we are fantastic, Mike. Great guesting, Claire. Thank you, says Margaret. Thank you, Margaret. Excellent, Claire, says Cookie Boy. Many of you will be in absolute and utter agreement with Claire Fox, where she says, you know, we have to be really careful when you pass this kind of legislation, which effectively gives the government and the state the right to kill you. I mean, seriously. Mike, you need to learn all day. I've learned so much today, says Tracy. Well, you know, one of the things I was going to ask Claire about, actually, but we did sort of run out of time. I mean, it's hard to believe, talking to Andrew Lowney, or Loney, I think somebody said his name is properly pronounced, he actually said these words, right? And just think about this. He actually said that there are stories that he has seen about young girls being killed, effectively, during possibly rough sex and buried on golf courses, right? He also said that there are stories that he's seen about a British Prime Minister who took part in a threesome with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. He can't name the individual, but he said there is a name out there and it has been put into the Epstein papers. He also said, incredibly, that there is absolutely a pretty good chance that there are bodies buried on royal estates, young women who will have passed away, who would have been murdered, very possibly, by people associated with, not necessarily in, the royal family. Huh? I mean, it beggars belief, doesn't it? Why don't we have a look at a couple of clips while we're at it, because we're waiting for Lola Cunningham right now. Should we have a look at Kemi Badenoch talking about the vetting on Epstein with the House of Commons?
The Prime Minister is the architect of his own misfortunes, and all of the chaos and instability we're seeing is completely self-inflicted. This is a Labour psychodrama right now. We're all living in Labour's psychodrama. I'm standing here in a pub that has been struggling with many of the terrible decisions that Labour has made, and they want to talk about their issues. They want to see a government getting a grip. Right now, we have a government that's focusing purely on its own internal psychodrama. Enough of that. It is time for them to get a grip and start governing the country.
Yeah, there's so much news today, right? I don't know how we're going to get through it all. We're still waiting for Lady Cunningham. As soon as she gets here, we will put her on. I don't know about you, but I'd like to do Plank of the Day because it's already coming up to 20 minutes past 9 and we're nearly finished. Let's do Plank of the Day.
Hello, it's Plank of the Day time.
And just before we start, should we not do the poll of the day as well? Because we had an update, I think, relatively recently, but I haven't got one just yet. Have you got one for me? Can you stick it up on the screen? Oh, here we go. What would you rather watch? Skeet shooting, some of you had to look that up, curling, Keir Starmer, or ice dancing? Now, ice dancing comes in a pretty close second with 31%. Skeet shooting, third at 21%. Starmer, of course, very unpopular at 8%. Nobody wants to watch him. And curling coming in at 40%. Now, I know that there are a lot of you out there who will disagree with my view about curling, but I have to say, I find the Winter Olympics absolutely dreadful, right? What to watch today in Milan, right? The curling bronze medal match, 1:05 p.m. Bruce Muat and Jen Dodds take on the hosts and defending world and Olympic champions Italy. I can only assume Bruce Muat and Jen Dodds are in fact Scottish or British, I don't know. Alpine skiing at 1 p.m. Downhill champion Breezy Johnson and two-time gold medalist Michaela Schifrin team up for the US in the newly created women's team combined slalom final. And then the women's mogul qualification at 1:15, which is Michaela Gherkin-Schofield, the first British skier ever to feature in an Olympic moguls final. She begins her campaign. I mean, I'm sorry, I just find it completely and utterly dull. Ha! Curling wins, says Jan. We should force you to watch an entire competition, Mike. No, listen, I've watched it, right? All those years ago when that team of Scottish women won it, you know, and everybody got very carried away. I think I was working for the Mirror in Scotland at the time. So we used to put them on the front page every day. It was quite exciting. But as a general rule, unless you've got some skin in the game, unless you for some reason have got a reason to watch the curling because, you know, one of your relatives is in it or something, you know, it's really dull. I'm sorry. And I can't have it. I can't have people dressed as if they're going down the pub, right, and sitting in a lounge, drinking Advocaat or something, or Dubonnet, with a brush, you know. It's just, that's not a sport. I'm sorry. And also, I think the real reason I hate the Winter Olympics is because the BBC go on and on and on about it, you know, as if it's some incredible kind of endeavour, right? As if everybody wants to watch it, and we can't wait. I mean, there's a story today in the Telegraph, I think it is, in which it says basically that the medals now are falling apart. Let me see if I can find it. Where are we? Where's the Telegraph? Here it is. Yeah. Olympic medals fall apart within minutes. Winter Olympics organisers have launched an investigation into broken medals for the second Games running after several athletes reported issues with ribbon clips. Right? Apparently, the medals of at least 4 Olympic athletes have snapped within minutes of receiving them after they came apart from the ribbon. American skier Breezy Johnson, who won Sunday's women's downhill alpine gold, revealed that her medal broke when she was jumping up and down in celebration on the podium. Well, that tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? So basically, the whole thing is just rubbish. Absolute cobblers. Anyway, that's Plank of the Day, the Winter Olympics.
Hello, it's Plank of the Day time.
Now, coming up to 9:25, we're very nearly at the end of the show, but I'm delighted to say we've managed to locate Layla Cunningham, and we're running slightly late. So, Layla, my apologies. Thank you for joining us. Very good morning.
Hi, Mike. Nice to see you in your new home.
Yes, very nice to see you. Hopefully next time you can come and visit us. We're not far away. I've got to ask you first of all about the state of play in Downing Street, because we had your colleague Richard Tice on this morning, and we kind of agreed that almost anything can happen in the next 24 hours. How long do you think Starmer's got before he shuffles off?
I thought he'd be gone much earlier, but now that I look at it, I think he's smart. He probably told them, listen, if you get rid of me, I'll call a snap election and you'll all lose your seats.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to happen. He's got that hanging over their head, and, you know, they're not going to do that because they know they're going to lose to Reform. So I think he might actually cling on.
Yeah, that's a very depressing thought, isn't it? Because, I mean, it looks as though not only does he not have the cojones to sort of do the right thing, but neither do any of his cabinet colleagues either.
Well, no, because, you know, they know what a terrible record they've had and how bad they've been in government. And they don't want to lose their seat. They've got nothing waiting on the other side, sadly. We have politicians, career politicians, who don't have anything outside of politics, so will cling on to failure just to cling on to power.
Yeah, I know.
It's depressing.
It is highly depressing. So let's look ahead to, I guess, if he's still around, the end of the month when we get the by-election up in Gorton. Obviously, Matt Goodwin standing for Reform. Are you guys feeling reasonably confident about that, or is it going to be a case of if Reform doesn't win, they're all going to pile in and go, oh, they've plateaued, they can't win everything, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. If we win by a little margin, they'll say, oh, they didn't win by a bigger margin as they thought. If we don't win, you know, the narrative will always be negative because I think the press and the political establishment do not like Reform succeeding. Listen, I think Matt is an incredible candidate. You know what, he's always very forthright. People can relate to him. He's from there. He's local. You know, he's a boy done good from there. And I think he'll be a fantastic MP. And I think, you know, I hope he wins. I think he does. I mean, he's honestly been campaigning like relentless. You know, he's been working so hard.
And you've been up there campaigning as well. What are people saying when you talk to them?
You know, London's a big beast for us, and we've got over 1,800 seats to fight. But I will be going up there.
Okay.
Pleasure.
I'm looking at a statement today from the Debating and Political Society of Bangor University. I don't know whether you've seen this, but they basically banned Reform UK, including your good self, from going along and talking to some students.
Am I named on there?
What are you frightened of exactly? Well,
Am I
they
named?
find of, I should say.
Yeah,
I don't
that
think
was
you're
named.
actually named on there, but I think the story that I saw said that you were going. Sorry, it says Jack Anderton and Sarah Poachin were going to go. My apologies.
I mean, I'm probably you know, if they ban Sarah, then they ban me. You know, we're one team. But that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the shutdown of debate because people can't have other opinions. And I do think that comes down from government. You know, when the Labour Party keeps calling us racist and fascist, it does shut down debate. And I had the pleasure of debating at the Oxford Union. And listen, I lost the debate before I even opened my mouth. But they had us, you know, it was Zia and I, we debated whether Churchill was a hero. And that is the sign of a healthy education and a healthy democracy. And I don't know what Bangor University is up to.
Right.
Have they? Yeah, it's terrible. But
So
I don't
did
know
did the Oxford Union conclude that Churchill wasn't a hero then?
100%, yeah.
Of course they did.
Of course they did. I was public enemy number one in there. But listen, it was enjoyable. I took a lot of point of orders. You know, it was good banter. Listen, the students are up for a debate. At least they're up for a debate. And that's what counts.
Yes.
We got to teach people, we got to teach young people to argue their point, not to run away from any kind of disagreement. What are they raising at Bangor University?
I know, absolutely ridiculous. Let me ask you about Sadiq Khan, because obviously he's your kind of number one opponent, I guess, if you want to call him that. He was in the news earlier this week talking about wanting to reunite with the European Union, wanting to get back into some kind of single market, and possibly with a view to rejoining the European Union. I mean, there will be people in London who will say, yeah, that's what we want, because London kind of, you know, was a very much a Remainer city. Has he got any business talking about the European Union at this point?
No, he's the mayor of London. We have the highest crime rate we've ever had. We've got a knife epidemic, a rape epidemic, shoplifting epidemic. I mean, shops are closing left, right, and centre. We've got vape shops everywhere. And he's pontificating about Brexit. Also, you know what it shows me is that they really don't respect the democratic outcome if it doesn't agree with them. We voted to leave. Now you've got to put you've got to put yourself behind what the people voted for, not try and question the decision.
Right.
It was one of the biggest referendums we've had, and it was a decision to leave the EU. And the fact that he's arguing, but who does he think he is? Is he telling all those voters that we got it wrong?
Yeah.
You know, they just don't respect democracy. I mean, you see it, you know, they're cancelling elections. You know what, what's his name? Alistair Campbell said, because we sent that wrong letter without the imprint. He actually had the audacity to say that the electoral, the decision might have to be reversed in court. They're so frightened of democracy. They have no respect for it. And like you say, Sadiq Khan is the mayor of London. He needs to stop focusing on London, but he doesn't, sadly.
No, exactly right. I know you've got to run, and we've got to run as well. So I'm going to finish up with one question, last question, nothing to do with politics. I did ask Richard Tice this question as well. It's a piece of the Times today, which says playing it cool in the dating pool is a bad idea. It's how long should you wait to text somebody after a first date? A study suggests playing it cool can get you frozen out, and you should basically message people the next morning. What do you reckon?
Well, I think at my age, I think when I was younger, I'd play it cool, right? And you'd kind of like the slightly bad boy that would play it cool as well. But at my age, there's no time to waste. So I think text the next day or as soon as you can. You know, like with my husband, within a month we knew, you know, we were meant to be together. My second husband. So I think there's no time to waste past as an age, Mike.
No time like the present.
No, exactly that.
Exactly right. Layla, great to see you. Hopefully we'll see you in the studio soon, and good luck with the campaigning and all the rest of it, and have a very happy Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? It is Tuesday, isn't it? Thank you very much indeed. Layla Cunningham, mayoral candidate for London, of course, and somebody who wouldn't spend her entire time trying to get back inside the European Union, by the way. So, what a show. I mean, incredible. I mean, I don't know where the time has gone. We've had so many great guests. We've had so many brilliant conversations today. So many of you watching as well. So thank you for all of that. We can't go, though, without having to do, of course, Heron of the Day. And there's a few here, look. Paul says, Eva Heron catches a slippery character. I think its name might be Mandy or maybe Andy. That's the one on the left. One in the middle. Hi, Mike. It's been a busy week and thank you for the time discussing We Served healthcare and wellbeing. I attach a picture of our heron purchased 16 years ago in an African art shop next to the funeral home where my father died. And that's Ed from We Served, who you might remember was on with Hugh Andre just the other week. One here from Mark, who says, morning, Mike. This is my favourite one, I think. My son is on a weekend in Amsterdam. He sent me this pic of a heron just sitting, minding his own business in the red light district. My son said he could probably smell something. We're not quite sure it was coming from the canal. I have to say, that particular red light heron doesn't have an S-shaped neck, though. Can we have another look? Yeah. I wonder if that means it's not a heron. And it's the crane. You know, we don't want to start another row. But do you see what I mean? It's not got an S-shaped neck, has it?
Maybe its neck is erect.
Very possibly so. I'm not going to repeat that. Thank you, Pooch, for a bit of biological information there on the heron's neck. Somehow it's standing up straight. I don't know what he means. Anyway, listen, thank you all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m, of course, with another fabulous show. Thank you to Charlotte for booking all the brilliant guests. Thank you to Pooch, who literally has been working his socks off today against incredible odds. We've managed to get here. We've managed to get to the end. Starmer's still employed as the Prime Minister, which is a terrible shame. Hopefully by tomorrow he might not be. But it's beginning to look as if he's kind of clinging on for dear life, isn't it? Clinging on to the wreckage. Absolutely shocking state of affairs. Anyway, just remember, no matter how many times you see them out there, no matter how much of it there is, don't be a plank.
Remember, despite all of the others out there, it's always the others. Don't be a plank.